Hey everyone, I'm Travis Wright, and you're listening to I'm a Fan of, your show for music, comedy, and more. As always, if you are a musician, a comedian, or just someone that does something interesting, please reach out to me on Instagram at TravisCanListen. You can find me on Facebook at I'm a Fan of as well, or you can just reach out to me through the website at I'mAFanOfPod.com. Of course, if you just enjoy the show, please follow me there as well, and like and subscribe to the podcast. Before we get into this interview guest for this episode, I want to talk about two things. The first being, I'm a Fan of, and myself, obviously, are producing and recording the very first comedy special for the hilarious stand-up comic Lawrence Rosales. That is on October 26th at the Dallas Hyenas Comedy Club. So it's going to be a great night of comedy. It's going to be a regular comedy show. We're just going to be filming and recording it in hopes that Lawrence can turn it into a great live recording that we put out there for you all to see. So if you'd like to attend that, the inaugural I'm a Fan of recording, as well as Lawrence's first recording, I believe, please go to the Dallas Hyenas Comedy Club website, make a reservation. It's absolutely free. You just need to make a reservation. The second thing is, I started a GoFundMe page for the I'm a Fan of podcast and the production company that I'm moving forward with under I'm a Fan of also as well. And it's really just a way for me to hopefully raise some funds to keep doing projects like what I'm doing with Lawrence. I'd like to record more comedy specials, and then I'd also like to continue a vinyl series that I started with Brave Little Hal called Live from Big Thicket. If you're listening to this as a podcast, if you're watching it on YouTube, wherever you're at, there's going to be a link in the description that you can go check it out, and I go into more detail about what I'd like to do. You can also just find a link in the bio of all my social media stuff. It'll have it in there as well for the GoFundMe. If you could find it in your heart to donate anything, $1, $5, $10, $1,000, $30,000, $1 million, whatever you would like, any small amount will be greatly appreciated. Those of you who have already donated, thank you so much. The money is going to be put to good use. I promise you that. We are going to bring some great stuff through I'm a Fan of over the next year, and you will be one of the reasons that I'm able to help empower and showcase these artists that come on the show. So thank you very much. If you haven't donated, there's still time. I think we're going to run this to the probably through the end of October. So please, if you can, like I said, even if it's just $1, $5, anything will be greatly appreciated. Moving on, today's interview guest is a hilarious stand-up comic, Parker Slavens. Man, I've enjoyed this guy for years now. He did comedy long before I was doing this podcast, and I got to watch him then. Then he took a break, a hiatus. We get into why he did that, and now he's back in the game. Super, super funny dude. We talk about, of course, how he got into comedy, which is really interesting. His mom drove him out to the Dallas Hyenas Comedy Club open mic on a Wednesday night, thinking he wouldn't be able to do it because he was only 16 years old whenever he started. And, of course, it went the other direction. So lots of funny stories there about him, trying to find comedy and everything through high school. And then, of course, we get into many, many, many other topics. So let's stop talking about it now. Let's just go ahead and get into the interview. This is Parker Slavens. The I'm a Fan of podcast, music, comedy, and more.
It's on.
It's on. Yeah. Parker Slavens.
Yes.
What's
hello.
up, dudes? We were already chatting a shitload before the mics turned on and started recording. But we were talking about how I want to get into recording more specials, and you were asking me about recording like a full showcase for somebody. And we were talking about how comics think their material's burned once you record it, but you disagree.
Yes. I think during like the era when there was like only like 7 specials produced a year, mm-hmm. And so there was just not that much comedy content out there. Mm-hmm. That makes sense that's what people are thinking and doing. But now there's just so much content out there, and to think that everyone in the audience has seen your stuff until you're touring to your audience. Yeah. If it's a papered room or you're a feature, most likely they have not seen your stuff. Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah, and you came up through like Hyenas was that was like your home base, right? When you were starting out.
For sure.
And so you're used to like rooms being papered, and it's
yeah.
There was a guy who came through DCC like a year or two ago named Sean Murphy, who's a really funny comic, and he had recorded his own special and put it out on YouTube. And I messaged him, and I was like, dude, that was really funny. I see you're coming to Dallas. Can't wait to get tickets, whatever. And he ended up coming on the show. But the first thing he said is he's like, I'll probably still be doing about half of that material.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't care. I'll see some new material, and I'd still love to see that material I've already heard in person. Yeah. Because it's never exactly the same anyway.
Yeah, no way.
Yeah. But I never thought about it like that way until you just said it now, that Yeah, because I mean that's one of the biggest things. I used to want to record sets all the time just to showcase what we have around here.
Right.
And that was usually the first thing is like, I don't want my material to be on the internet. I don't want it to be burned. And I was like, okay, but that was pre-pandemic when I was doing that. So now I think it's all changed where people are like, I've got to put stuff on the internet.
You have to. Yeah. And if you can, so many people are like putting their phone on a table and the audio is bad and it's just, I'm not going to watch that clip as a consumer.
No.
And so, but what I will do is when like the Don't Tell clips.
Yes.
Those are great.
Those are phenomenal. I mean, that's what I'm hoping to do. I was telling you, you know, I have the pleasure and stressed out thing to record Lawrence Rosales.
Yes.
And that's what I want to do is put something on that level. And I think I can, but you know, there's a lot of things you don't know until you do it.
Oh yeah.
And that's what it is me and Lawrence are both going to be kind of stretching our legs here.
For sure.
But there's no reason we shouldn't have something similar to that in the southern United States, specifically Texas.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to go to a coast.
Yes,
you know?
Especially now with like how much of the industry's in Austin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because you know a handful of the people that are down there working that moved from here, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like Tony and
CJ, Liz,
They look like they're doing well down there, by the way. Do you get to talk to them much?
For sure. Not like all the time, but every time I do talk to them, they're having a great time, living the dream, you know?
Do they have any pull yet? Like, are you able to be like, hey, can I get on an open mic down here? Or?
You know, maybe if I ask on the right day, for sure.
I got you. Yeah. They're probably all freaking out that they work for Joe Rogan's
They're
Club.
all doing their own thing, and so if they are willing to do that, I'm always just like, oh wow, thank you so much. Yeah, but never expect it. You know. Yeah.
I was just talking to Andrew Deacon about that. How like I don't think like the Dallas scene, the Austin scene, the Houston scene. I don't think we're gonna have like a one that just really goes crazy. I think it's just going to end up being like the whole state.
Yes.
Because all these comics keep going back and forth through the cities.
Yeah. And there's so many like quality rooms here. Like they've always been here. It's just now we've got, I think Austin is like a hub of talent.
For sure. That
is going to like, you know, why wouldn't you want to work 3 hours down the road?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, because as great as that place is, there's still only going to be so many spots you can go to.
Right.
There's still only so many places you can stretch your bits out and work on things.
Yes.
And if you can come up here and get 20 minutes, whereas down there you might only get like, I don't know,
7,
8, 10.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I'm sitting here, I'm forgetting, man. Like, I want to know what happened, where you went. Because we were talking about it.
Yes.
You were doing comedy, and I saw you. That would have been like 2019, 2018 maybe?
29, yeah.
Yeah, and then you were gone for a little bit, and now you're back.
Yes.
So what's the story there? I've been dying to learn about it, man.
I felt really bad because I noticed that you had sent me a DM in 2019, and I was like, I guess I just full ignored it. But I was like in an era where I was like, I don't, social media is not what I'm interested in right now. I'm only interested in like just getting as much stage time as possible.
Oh, okay.
Oddly enough, big correlation between posting on social media and getting more stage time.
You're like, hey, that word. Yeah. But where did you go with comedy?
I was actually living with Tony Casillas, and we were like doing our own podcast and planning to move to Los Angeles in September 2020. As everyone knows what happened.
Dodged a bullet there.
Yeah. Well, the whole, world changed, and I had like a bit of an existential crisis of like, there's no stand-up to be done. What do I do without that? And I was like, working nights at a hotel, and I was like, this isn't what I want to be doing at all. And so I just went back to school. And I had gone to school before and tried to like juggle both, but I always chose stand-up over school. I would always be like, I'll just be tired at class, then not go to class. Or,
Yeah, because you're already, were you working nights at the hotel while you were going to school?
I was working weekend mornings and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So like,
So you weren't on the night schedule yet
when I was in school. The first time.
Yeah.
And then also working nights, doing as much stand-up as possible. Yeah. And so there were in 2019 there were weekends where I would be working at Hyenas. So I'd like be at the club by 6:30, not home till 1, up and at the hotel at 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., go home, nap, go back.
Just burning it on both ends,
man. Yeah. And then, and I was just like so tired. And I was like, what do I do now? And
talking about when the pandemic hit and stand-up stopped, what do I do?
Yeah. And so I was just, I thought, let me take a step back from stand-up since I have to.
Yeah.
And focus in on school and not go back full tilt until it's done. Yeah.
What were you wanting to study?
I was studying English
the
first time, but then I went back for marketing because I thought it could be something that could...
Yeah, it sounds good. Like, I need to know marketing.
Yeah.
Was it interesting? Did you like it at all?
Some of it was very interesting. Just like sociology stuff is pretty interesting to me. Yeah.
It's fascinating to watch shows. I know it's all, Hollywood, but it's rooted in it. But it's fascinating to watch shows like Mad Men.
Yes.
When you realize you start to really think about how much marketing really does play a part in everyone's life. Yes. Like the only reason I'm wearing, like a Levi's shirt is because of their marketing campaign when I happen to be in Target or whatever. And I was like, oh, I like that. I like this shirt.
Yeah.
And it's like the amount that they can pull your strings and make you do stuff without you even thinking is incredible.
Yeah, the amount of times I buy liquid death water.
Dude, seriously, is it you that has Topo Chico in your bit? Somebody around here has got Somebody around here is got Topo Chico of how that's one of the greatest marketing things ever is they got us all just to drink a different water.
Yeah. It's nuts. Yeah. And I feel funnier when I drink liquid death. It's all my favorite funny podcasts. Yeah.
It's so true. So how did you finish out your degree?
Yes, we're done. I finished last year. It was I had a mini master I could finish and do 3 or 21 hours in a mini mester and just knock it out. And so I finished in October of last year.
Congratulations, man.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. So now you got that college degree and you're back to comedy.
Yeah. Pretty hilarious, actually. Everyone was like, oh, well, you get the degree because you want to trade your time for better compensation and it'll help you with, your art. And I definitely believed in there was I had this get rich or die trying mentality for a long time. I'll paint myself into a corner so I have to succeed. But then you kind of, or for me, I was disconnected between the creativity aspect of it. I was trying to reverse engineer what the industry wants and how do I fit into their game. And I think getting the degree definitely helped release that.
Yeah.
However, I have yet to get a cool job from it.
What kind of job would you want with a marketing degree?
I think anything I think a brand strategist job would be fun. Meeting with people and figuring out, the essence of what they're trying to do. Yeah.
Man, I love that aspect of what you guys do in terms of comedy.
Yeah.
Because I always say on here, as a fan of comedy, I kind of try to make parallels to y'all's journey as a comic. So I feel like my level of understanding of what y'all do is, I feel okay, I'm a person who's been hosting for a year or two. I know a little, but there's still a lot to learn.
Yeah.
So I hope I never sound like I am trying to act like I know all about comedy.
Right.
Because I don't, I'm still learning a lot. But one of the things I noticed a lot is there's a lot of very funny people, but what I would like to see them do more is figure out, a theme to their act.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of comics miss is they've got a lot of funny jokes and they're very funny people, but they haven't figured out okay, if I were to do 45 minutes, what's a nice we're going to start here and then somehow we're going to bring it all back around. And that is the purpose of these jokes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so I love that about marketing. Did you get to work with anyone yet on that type of stuff for marketing?
Not really. Yeah. So it's just a lot of theory that I know about it and not a lot of practice.
So you got to jump in there on it.
Yeah. I love what you were saying about having a theme for your act.
Yeah.
And I heard John Mulaney talking about how he's to some extent every hour I start one way and I end another way, which is kind of engaging in that storytelling hero's journey thing where you have a one perspective, and over these period of jokes, it's kind of morphing your perspective. And I think that's something I'm trying to figure out, how could it even be done. But,
so he said he's done that in all his specials?
Yes.
I'm going to have to rewatch them now and just kind of pay attention.
Yeah.
He's so skilled, if he's doing it, I don't even notice. You know?
Yeah.
And that's what's fun.
Yeah. Did you watch Shane Gillis's latest special?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. He kind of does
yes.
it. Where he starts, and he's doing it like tongue in cheek, like the like rah-rah, like USA stuff at the beginning. But then at the very end, he's lampooning George Washington. So it's like, he's doing the thing where like over the course of the act, he is slowly like, I do understand the faults.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a bait and switch, but not really. You kind of did that at one of the shows I saw you here recently,
yes,
which was really fun. I don't know if you realized it, but I came to that Plano show that Vinny and Neos put on, the Cowabunga comedy guys, and a lot of your stuff you'll talk about your religious background, right? And so, especially in Plano, you notice that people are like, kind of hot, even though we're at a bar, it's like that's a religious area, and people are like, good old Christian boy up here telling jokes, right? And it, because right now a lot of people associate Christianity with like overt patriotism,
right?
So then later you were making some cracks about January 6th and Don't Rush the Stage. And the same people who were on board with you through the Christian stuff are just like, well, I don't know about this left turn he took here.
Yes. It's my favorite part of my act. Is to kind of like
I didn't
set
know if
all
that
that
was
up and then like pull the rug out from under them.
So that wasn't purely situational for that night.
Yeah, no, I do that.
Oh, that's great. So you are kind of doing that then.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Did you know until now?
Until now, no. I just knew that it got this, like, they would laugh, but they're not happy about it. And I like that. I like that a lot. That's what I'm going for most of the time.
That's literally, I mean, I love scanning the crowd after you guys pull some magic like that to see reactions.
Yes.
That's now become like a second favorite part of comedy for me. Is just watching, because I'm always fascinated by how people process all that.
Right.
And it's like, you instantly saw smiles go like to straight face, like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And then it was like a few minutes go by and they're like, well, I guess I'm back on board. He seems funny.
He's a nice kid, I guess. Yeah,
that's awesome, man. When did you decide that you were going to talk about so much religion? Because you know how it is. It's like in art, the moment you start getting religious people, it's almost like you have a disease now.
Right. Whoa, yeah. No, I didn't know that.
No, I mean like other artists are like,
yes.
It's not cool to be religious.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I just, it's my like personal experience, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, everyone says like early on in comedy, you'll get a lot of advice about like, if you write personal stuff, no one can steal from you. Mm. And so that's what I was doing. I was like, okay, how can I come up with what's funny aspects of my upbringing that I can, mine. Yeah. And that was,
So it didn't even cross your mind. You're like, this is me. This is funny.
Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, there might be some aspect of like, I started really young. I started at 16.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And I was like very active in the church that I grew up going to, and like was signed up to be a junior counselor at camp and all this stuff. And then they found out that I've been doing stand-up, and it got all taken away from me.
Who found out?
The elders of the church.
Oh, okay. Did your family already know that you were doing it?
Yes. Yeah, my mom.
Because you're 16, they had to.
My mom
take
had
you,
to
right?
take me. Yeah.
Okay.
And I uploaded a YouTube video where I was like, having a good time on stage. And
I'm assuming it probably would have been fairly clean comedy at that point, though, right?
Yeah.
Like your parents aren't going to let you go up there and just like cut loose, right?
Yeah, I feel like it's still fairly clean.
Yeah, I feel like you have a clean act without
yeah.
trying to be clean. It just happens to be. So what were they upset about?
Mostly, just that this was like a secular path.
Oh, okay. Well, what is the denomination that you were raised?
Church of Christ.
Are they that strict? I don't know much about Church of Christ.
Strict. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Church of Christ is the one that doesn't do music as well, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. I had talked about that today.
Oh, you did? Okay. Cool. Yeah.
With someone. Yeah.
I remember seeing some church music guy who was playing an acoustic guitar, just talking about the different forms of music that the different denominations have.
Yeah.
And when he got to Church of Christ, he like flipped his guitar over backwards so he couldn't strum the strings.
Yes, I've seen this act. Yeah. Yes,
I don't remember who it was. But.
Yeah, me neither. But that was,
So they found out you're doing a secular thing. And,
yeah.
Okay.
I also think there was some weird internal politics of like my parents being divorced and getting remarried to other people around.
That's just Texas church. There is always politics.
Yeah. And so it really kind of like, I was like, I'm happy to talk about this.
Did they approach you first or your parents first?
They approached my parents first. And my dad was like, y'all aren't about to bring in my son to the elders, like the lion's den, so to speak, and really grill him, because that is wildly inappropriate and not cool. And especially because there was this some people with like other motives or potentially other motives.
Yeah, and y'all don't know what it is really.
Exactly. Yeah.
Educate me a little bit. I'm pretty ignorant about just Church of Christ in general. And if this is too deep of a question to get into on a podcast, let me know. But what is the fear in Church of Christ of doing something secular like that? Not like with you specifically, but just in general, what is their concern about doing a secular thing? Is it just that it's taking you further away from the church?
I think so. Yeah. That's I think the real like almost indicator of like these other. One of the elders was like the husband of my mom's new husband's ex-wife's best friend or something. Does that make sense? I
think I followed that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so they just kind of like had a little like maybe a grudge or something, and wanted to, this is a good opportunity to.
So it seemed more personal than just the church.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a bummer. So did you end up having to talk to the elders, or did your parents handle it?
One elder talked to me, one that I had a lot of respect for, and still do.
Yeah.
And he's also an artist himself. He's a musician.
Oh, so that sounds like the perfect person
to like, hey, come to lunch and we'll, and
what was his advice? Do you remember?
He was just like, you can be a clean comedian. And I was like, yeah, I don't know that I'm not, and maybe I did have like dirtier stuff at the time because I was a 16-year-old kid and dirty stuff is hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, it still is, but and he just was like, he oddly enough used Bill Cosby as the example.
We didn't know any better.
Yeah.
We didn't know yet. Okay.
That's right. Yeah, he was like,
you can be a good guy like that.
Yeah, like Bill. Have you considered? And I was like, oh yeah, thank you. And but I just felt like it was a bit of a mountain made out of a molehill kind of situation, and. Yeah.
That's fascinating. So that was your first, like, you're 16, you just started comedy, and people are already trying to like stop you and cancel you.
Me. Yeah. No, not the woke.
What was that like doing comedy at 16? And then did you go to regular public school?
Yes.
Yeah. What was that like going back to school on Monday and you've like been doing comedy sets? Did you just feel like the coolest, or was it lame?
I did feel cool. Yeah, I felt cool. I don't know if other people thought it was that cool, but
did they find out you were doing it?
Yes. Yeah. The student body got a hold of the videos and
hell yeah.
And would quote to me in the hallway, and it was awesome.
Oh, that's badass.
Yeah, it felt really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have a thing before that? Like, was there anything in school that you were kind of known for before that?
Indeed, yes.
Anything positive?
I was.
That looked like it was bad.
I did a lot of magic.
Oh, I forgot. I forgot about this.
Yeah.
Where did you go to school?
I grew up in a very small town in Texas.
Okay, then you're not the person I'm thinking of.
Okay.
But where did you grow up?
Have you heard of Eastland, Texas?
No.
Do you know Abilene?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
It's like on the way to Abilene off of 20, 4,000 people.
Well, I was only asking because I bartended at Buffalo Wild Wings in Carrollton, Plano area. Mm-hmm. And there was a guy who was very young working there who did a bunch of magic.
Whoa. Yeah.
And it was so long ago, I was like, Is this him? Did I fucking work with this guy? But no, it's not.
No,
that.
yeah, I've never worked at Buffalo Wild
So you were doing
Wings,
magic
yes.
before that?
Yes.
What kind of magic did you like doing the most?
I really enjoyed stage magic, so it kind of makes sense. And I did like a comedic act to it. You know, like the joke in most magic shows is like the trick goes wrong, it goes wrong, it goes wrong, it goes really, really right.
Gotcha.
You know,
yeah. Oops. Just kidding. I was in control the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So, when did you get the bug to do magic?
5th grade.
I fucking love magic.
Yeah.
I've never understood why it gets the stigma.
Yeah.
Because that is just such a running joke about like the pathetic magician, right?
Yes.
It's like you're loser, or you're fucking what's his name? Like David Blaine or something. Yeah. And it's like all of a sudden you're like sex symbol David Blaine.
Yeah. Chris Angel.
Yeah. So it's like there's this very long like you're a loser, and then all of a sudden you reach the pinnacle of fame and success.
The amount of like alone practice you have to do to be good at magic, I think that's where the like, well, you're not out having fun with friends. You're in your bathroom looking at the mirror.
It's so true of like so many different artistic endeavors.
Yeah.
But magic especially, because it's like it's got to be so clean.
Yes.
Right? If someone in the audience even gets the hint that they know how to do it, it's like he fucking sucks.
Yeah.
I remember the guy that I worked with at Buffalo Wild Wings. I wish I knew who he was still, but he had a great trick where, you know, he's turning, you know, $1 into 5 into 20 into 10 or whatever. Yes. And, you know, he showed me, he's like, here's the custom bill he made.
Wow.
Whatever he flips around, however he does it. And, you know, and it's like after he showed me, he's like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to do that. And then I'm watching him do it to the next person and I still can't see it.
Can't figure it out.
Just, It's so fucking fast and smooth.
Yes. Yeah.
And like you said, it's like, how many hours? How many hours did it take you, man?
Too many.
Yeah.
And then there came like a time when I just kind of knew, you know, I still know a bunch of tricks. Yeah. And so like I would, you know, it helped with like girls in like the 20s. And when you're in your 20s, it's like cool.
It's a great icebreaker, I bet.
Yes. But whenever you're, you know, in high school, everyone's like, what up, nerd? You know, like, they're like,
you said you started learning in 5th grade?
Yeah.
How long was it until you could do a trick when you started in 5th grade?
Maybe I had like enabling parents or something, and they were like, wow, great job. You know, they were, you know, because I think maybe like 7th, 8th grade, I got pretty good.
Was it like a magic book or something that you were going through?
Yeah. So I saw like a magic show whenever I was like in the 5th grade. And then that Christmas, I got a big like 101 magic tricks kits, which any magician knows there's only like 7 tricks in those. Like,
in those books?
In those like big like container kits that you can buy. And it says 100 magic tricks. It's like there's only really like 7.
They just tell you there's like 30 variations on cutting the rope, or
yeah. Or like it's like, why would I ever do this? You know, I can't think of a good example, but it's like.
So what was the first trick out of that book?
Okay, yeah, this was fun. There was. It was pretty much like I had like a bag, like a little brown bag, and I'd pull out lollipops, and I'd show you all the different colors of the lollipops, and then I'd be like, oh, that one's my favorite. I'm going to keep that one. And then they're all gone. And so I'm like taking them out, putting them back in. And it's like, how did you just showed me like 40 lollipops. How did you do that? How are they all gone? Yeah. Yes.
Oh, that's fascinating. I think I just get so jealous that people... Like it makes you feel really stupid to know that you can be fooled,
right?
So easily. So because essentially you're just a really great pickpocket when you start getting good at that stuff,
right? Yes,
you know?
yeah, and like manipulator.
Absolutely. You're messing with my mind, my focus, all of it.
Yeah.
And because I think the last time I went to see like a really good magic show, we were probably on a cruise.
Yes.
And there was a magician on there doing a show, and it's like, you know, I'm in my late 30s now, so now when you watch a magic show, it's like, even though I enjoy being tricked, I enjoy the trick of it all, like it's fun, I'm still constantly searching. I'm like, there's something, right? Yeah. There's a wire, a mirror. Who should I be watching? Because he wants me to watch this person. Yeah. And you still can't follow it.
Right, yeah.
And you're just like,
very good, yeah.
You're just like, God, people can trick you just like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Isn't it weird? Like, it's one of the only times people can lie to you and you're happy about it.
Right. Yes. Yeah. You're like, yay, I've been fooled. Yeah. And if you catch them, you're like, you're disappointed, you know?
Yeah.
Like, give me
Again,
my
you're
money
like,
back.
loser.
Yeah. And they're back.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So you said you finally started learning some tricks around like 6th and 7th grade where you felt like you were pretty good?
Yes. Yeah. And booking shows.
Oh, you were actually performing?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yes. I got to spend, the person that got me into magic was actually a youth minister.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got a job at Disney World.
So you're performing at Disney World?
I got to do a handful of tricks alongside him at Disney World.
That's so cool, dude.
On the boardwalk. Yeah, it was.
You had to
so
feel
cool.
so fucking cool as a 7th.
Yeah.
Was it 7th, 8th grade?
This was 9th grade.
Ninth grade.
That I got to go like spring break. Spent the whole week with him, his wife, and
I got to go to Disney World. I got a gig.
Yeah. And like I got to see the catacombs of Disney, and his wife ran a few of the kiosks.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got like chicken tenders every day, and it was like
you're just sitting there eating chicken tenders, licking your fingers. You're like, well, after this, I'll go do some magic.
Yeah.
Dude, that is badass, man. What a great little like. People at that age don't have hobbies that are that like you're going out and doing it.
Yes. Yeah.
Most people are still just learning.
Right.
Yeah. The did you like how nervous were you doing those first couple shows?
Oh, very.
Because that's a really vulnerable, like, if it goes wrong, that's a terrible day.
Yeah. Yes. Luckily, I had some, like, siblings and cousins, like,
so you were doing, like,
birthday
home
parties
shows?
and stuff to kind of practice. And then we had a camcorder, and I would video myself, and which I bet those are around somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah.
Your parents got those in an attic somewhere.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first non-friends and family show?
I'm trying.
Did you do like a church or school?
Yeah, we did. I did church stuff. I think it was actually at a nursing home, which is hilarious.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, because they're also encouraging, and like they're not gonna.
And they've got bad eyesight. That's a great first gig.
It's a first gig. Yeah, exactly. Yes, and they. Oddly enough, no one in the church ever cared about the magic, which it feels like. There's something in there about not doing that.
Yeah, but also like, yeah. But then again, like if you're very religious, you have to believe in a certain amount of magic, right?
Right.
Like you got to believe, hey.
But there are things that happen for no reason. Yeah.
How long of a set is considered like an entry-level set for a magician?
Whoa,
how much time would you have to fill?
There's no like I don't know the like magic trajectory.
Yeah.
Like I do comedy, like where you become an MC, feature, headliner.
But like when you were younger, how long do you think you were performing?
Probably like 20 minutes, 20 to
That's
30
a long
minutes.
time.
Yeah.
That's a long time to do some magic.
Yeah. Because I had like one trick that had like a bunch of little tricks within that was a good 10-minute bit, And
so when you got to that level, was all your stuff like... Could you just carry stuff in a bag into the show, or did you have like props that you had to bring?
Yes,
what were you doing?
I had I fully bit a lot of my magic mentors bits, and it was like hacking stuff, and so I had like old suitcases, like vintage suitcases that would carry like 2 or 3 tricks per suitcase.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So you're going like as soon as the joke's over, you're going and getting another suitcase?
Yes. Yeah. And then like putting it on like a fold out, what is it? Like TV tray.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yes.
Something that's just wobbly enough.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating. And so how long did you do magic for? It sounds like you stopped.
I stopped pursuing it to perform, and probably till like senior year of high school, whereas I still like booking like legacy gigs, and like I did a few like lock-ins.
What's a legacy gig?
Ones that I had done previously, like years past, like events I'd done years past.
Gotcha.
And they were like, "Oh, come back," and I was like, "All right, yeah."
So then there's a period all through high school where you're doing stand-up and magic.
Yes, yeah.
Dang, so you were on stage quite a bit then.
For sure, yes, and I was in one-act play, and
What is worse to bomb at, magic or comedy?
Magic.
Yeah,
because I mean. Yeah, it's when it goes wrong and everyone's like, "You're bad at this."
Do you remember any of your great magic bombings? Like, because I'm trying to think of what could go wrong where you just lose them. Like, are you just dropping things, or what's the bomb?
Yeah, it's like a mechanism misfires or something, and it's like, or like the lollipop thing was just like a lollipop with a stick with like a bunch of ends on it.
Gotcha.
So like you could It's like you pull that out,
So it's
and
like you're
it's
fanning it out.
immediately revealed. That's the bomb of like. There was one that I had that like, if you are dealing with a person who wants you to fail, they can, and you're like, they are your person on stage, they can make it happen.
Yeah.
And so that, I think that's the worst magic bomb, is when the contestant proves themselves more in control than you are.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's brutal.
Yeah.
What great training though for like hecklers and the comedy stage.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just like stage presence.
Yeah.
And
I would think stage presence, correct me if I'm wrong, but as a magician, that seems so hard because it is a full act. Like in a sense, you're doing theater as well, right?
Yes.
You can't really be yourself, I guess.
Right. Yeah. You're not like, the authenticity layer is like, it's authentic to me because I'm doing it, but not necessarily because this is who I am.
Are there any comics though? I mean, magicians that are authentic in the way a comic is? Because it almost always seems like you have a little bit of a character, right?
There's a layer.
Yeah. Is that just part of it?
I think that's just part of it. Of the like, have you seen The Prestige?
Yes,
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, and I
Love
think
it.
they really illustrate the necessity of the that.
Yeah, like
kind
the
of
guy pretending to be frail and crippled
Yes.
who carries
Yeah.
the big fishbowl.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the first time I really thought about how magicians might. I don't know how they are in modern day, but I would think like a Chris Angel, a David Blaine, they're that way. Where they're always bullshitting you 24/7.
Yes, yeah.
The joke never. I mean, the illusion never stops, right?
Right. Yeah. You can never.
Yeah.
You clock out when you're at home alone.
I feel like the really great artist in other realms. Like I love music, and I think that's how Jack White is.
Yes.
Right. He is 100% in character. Prince, all these people. And that is part of the reason they're so huge, is it's like it never turns off.
Yes.
And I don't think I think at some point they lose their real self.
Right.
Because they're like, this is me now. This is what I do.
Yeah. Eventually you're just in meetings and stuff and doing interviews and
it's
all day long. Yeah.
It's got to be that way with somebody like Chappelle, too.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we know the real Chappelle. I mean, maybe that's really him, but
yeah. I think
don't
it's
know.
a version, like.
Yeah, it can't really be him.
Well, yeah. He's spouting prolific, statements and like pontificating about really dense topics. And
yeah, like if we were just eating dinner and he did that, you'd be like, Dave, come on, man.
Yeah, hey,
come
man.
on.
Yeah. Enjoy your shrimp, okay? Let's just relax. Yeah.
What was the essence to your magician character, to you?
Definitely, I played a bit of the like this. Oh no, what's going on? Like this is all going poorly. Which plays to the like an easy out for something that goes wrong.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was so young, and I would do shows with like older audiences, that there would be like a dickhead every once in a while that would like want me to fail.
That wants this teenage kid
to
fail.
Isn't that trash? Yeah.
It just goes to show, man, there's always an asshole.
Yeah.
Always an asshole.
There was a comic, when people found out I did magic, they were like, "Oh, you got to show us a trick." And I was like, "I won't do it in front of that guy."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Come on." And then I did. And he was like, immediately tried to like mess it up. And I was like, "See, I knew you would do this." And yeah.
I had this dumbass trick when I bartended, and
Nice.
it's not magic.
Okay.
It's just trickery.
Yeah.
But and like all my people, my people are drunk, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot easier, right?
Yeah.
But like I just couldn't believe people fell for it, because all it was is and it was all in the setup, right? So most good bars that you work at, it's like the bar I was at was a sports bar, Buffalo Wild Wings, right?
Yes.
So there was like an attractive female bartender, and then there was me working with her.
Right.
So if
Yes.
there's a bunch of dudes at the bar top, we're sending her up there, and I'm just pouring as many drinks as I can, right?
Yeah.
Because she's going to we shared tips. So it's like she's making a
Perfect.
lot more tips than I am with these
Yeah.
guys. And so if she found somebody, I don't even know how her criteria would go, but basically somehow it would be set up to where she'd talk about like people with gifts, like not like mind reading, but like close.
Right. Yeah,
and like
yeah.
how, Travis over there, like he's got a thing, like a sense or something. He just kind of like knows. And they'd be like, the fuck are you talking about? But since she's this hot girl talking to them, they're like, yeah, no, I've heard about that stuff.
Right.
And
Yeah.
they're already starting to fall for it,
yeah.
right? And then you'd give them the hard sell. Like she'd be like, Travis, come explain the thing. He told me once, but and I'd be like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you, man. It's just like I would get like visions sometimes when people are thinking, like I can kind of see what they're thinking almost. It's so stupid, you know, and you undersell it. And then she'd keep going and he'd be like, what are you talking about? I'd be like, all right, man, like I'm out of practice, but I'll see. And I would have like some bar napkins and I would tell them, I'm like, okay, I'll ask you like 3 questions. Okay. And then we'll try to see if I can connect with you anymore. I don't know if it always works. And you would just ask them to like think of a number, you know, and they'd think of a number and you'd write the number down and you'd put it over, right? And of course you're trying to sell it. You're like staring at them and like trying to look into their soul. And they're drunk, so they're like, wow,
whoa, guy.
And then you ask, and then I'm just like, dude, honestly, like I'm so out of practice, like. What was it, man? Because I need to know if I'm even close. And they'd tell you the number and be like, all right, whatever. Think of like a name then. Let's do a name. And write down that and you put it over. And then again, it's like, dude, I don't know if I'm just having a hard time reading you because I haven't ever done this. Like, what was the name? And then pass that out. And then you just ask them like, look, dude, I don't think I'm feeling it today. Like, just think of red or blue. Yeah. And then they think of that, right? And then, you write down the red or blue and pull it over. Really what it is the moment they told you, you wrote down the thing. So you're just going out of order, right? So as soon as on the first napkin, you're just 50-50 red or blue.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? And 50-50, you're going to hit that. And that's what you slid over on the first napkin.
Yes.
The second napkin, you're writing down the number that they told you. The third napkin, you're writing down the name that they told you.
Yes.
And so, half the time you get all 3 right.
Yeah.
And then the other times you get 2 out of 3 and you're just like, yeah, man, I guess I'm just off.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But every single time they're like drinking their beer and they're like,
hey.
No way. No way.
Yeah. Like, that is a magic trick. That is 100% a magic trick.
Okay.
As you started explaining, I was like, I know this magic trick.
You know what's happening,
yes.
Yeah.
And you can always do like, you said red and you write down blue is like, you eliminated it.
That's true. That's true. That's a good point. Yeah. But anyway, like even that little bit, like it was so fun to see people like have their minds blown, and it was so stupid. You're just like, how do you not see how do you not see it?
Yeah.
So were you constantly just seeing people like, how do they not figure it out?
Yes.
Even though you've practiced.
Yeah.
Aren't you just like maybe not idiots, but you're like, these idiots. Like it's so simple.
Yeah, it's so easy. Yeah. Yes. What's the best is when people want to be fooled, though.
Man. Yeah. You can get me now, and I don't even care because I know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing, but I know it is simple somehow. Yeah. And I just love the fact that it's like I can't believe it's that clean.
Yeah.
I follow a magician on Instagram. I think her name's Jenny Kern. Maybe. Okay. She's like a Vegas comic doing like she's got a big thing out there.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
But it's crazy how good like. No, it's not Jenny Kern. I don't know her name anymore. But it's just crazy how good it's gotten.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you got to be watching stuff now and just going, how the fuck are they doing that?
Oh, yeah. I still want to see Penn and Teller live. I haven't seen them yet. And
they're kind of the goats, right?
Yeah, they really are. Because they are telling you how they're doing it as they're doing it. And then...
You still can't.
Yeah, you're still like, what?
Did you watch their show where they would tell the magician, like, I'll tell you how it's done.
Yeah, fool us. Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Yes,
yeah. Where and it was just like it's crazy to think they're on that high of a level.
Yeah.
Where they just pick it apart and they're like, "This is what you did."
Yes.
And then you just see a magician melt down, and they're just like, "Fuck, that's what it was."
That is right. Yeah. And then you see people go up there with like a magic. Like one of the 101 magic tricks, and they're like, "Why are you here?" Yeah.
I remember some really old thing that they did. This was like on shitty television or something, and that their shtick of like, we all just lied to you. We're all grifters. We're all whatever. And again, like you said, as they're telling you how much they're lying to you, you still can't keep up.
Yeah,
and it's like, God, you're that good, man.
Yeah, how did you do that?
And then they got because they pretty much got like excommunicated from magic, right?
For
when they were
bit.
First doing it.
Yeah, for like revealing stuff, for doing it new. They were.
Did you feel like you had to abide by that code? Like you never told anybody how the trick was done?
It depends. For a while I really did. Yeah, I was like, no way. Yeah. Figure it out. Buy it. Yeah. And then after a while, I kind of relinquished that, and I was like, yeah. I mean, if you are gonna keep bugging me, I'll tell you about it. Yeah.
Did you ever think about bringing it, since your comedy act and that we're crossing over? Did you ever think like, I'll bring a few magic tricks on stage?
I did not as a stand-up. I think
that's probably a good move.
Quickly to stop getting booked. They're like, this isn't a magic club. This is a.
But it used to
club.
cross over so much. There would be like magicians and comics on the same show all the time.
Yeah.
It's strange, man. What was your favorite thing that you did that
you
knew just killed?
Oh yeah, it was called the Lemon Game, and so it's like I bring out a contestant, typically like a man, an older man, and get out money of his, and like it's like 20, the biggest bill,
like out of his wallet.
Yeah. Like I ask him, like, okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna play this fun game. What I need is some cash from you, and the bigger the bill, the better the trick, obviously. And then they write their name on it. You like make it disappear, and then like he's like, where'd it go? They're mad, and so you pull out these cards, and you're like, okay, so instead of that, instead of like, in lieu of your $100 bill you gave me, I've got these prizes. So you just pick one of these cards, and you'll have a prize, and you'll get it. And so they pick it, and I put it to the side. No one knows what it is yet, and we look over the possible prizes, which is like new sports car, a brand new computer, $10,000 cash, an all paid expense vacation. And then I'm like, but you won this, so it's got to be good. Look at all these other prizes, and then it's just a lemon. Not a bag of lemons, a single lemon. And I go on this whole like rant about how that is comparable to these great prizes, like you can polish wood with it, you can make lemonade.
Were they usually laughing or kind of fuming at that point?
They're fuming. The audience is laughing.
Well, I mean, who goes up there thinking you're actually going to win an incredible prize?
Right, yeah. Who's going up there thinking I'm not stealing that $100 from you? And then I pull out a big bag of lemons and make them, they rifle through, pick a random lemon. I take it, I cut it in half, and then I always do this bit about like how I couldn't get it, and so and they pull it out, and it's their signed that had been inside the lemon.
That's awesome.
Yes, yeah. You've seen that done on like every magician show now.
Yeah, there's different variations.
Yes,
yeah. That's fascinating, but that has to be a craft that almost everybody steals a little, right?
Yes, yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Especially lower, unless you're doing new stuff, you're not on like the radar of magic people,
Yeah.
Unless you're like in a workshop.
Yeah, and I doubt there's a lot of magic fans, like in the same way that there are comedy fans, where they'd be like, "Isn't that so and so's trick?"
Right? Yeah,
that doesn't come up. Yeah,
magicians will know.
Right.
Yeah, they'll be like, hey, that's so-and-so's trick. Don't take, that's his mechanic or, his thing. Yeah.
Were they supportive, the magicians? Were they supportive of like a younger guy coming into this?
For sure. Yeah, because there's so few.
Gotcha.
Because of the stigma. They're like, we must foster. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. But you would have been, like, what year did you graduate high school?
2012.
2012.
Yeah.
Okay, so like you had social media and everything, right?
Kind of. Like Facebook existed, and
because I was thinking
Instagram wasn't really around. Snapchat had come on the scene.
Okay, so there wasn't like Facebook groups of like child magicians or anything yet. Okay,
there might have been, but I wasn't looking into it.
Yeah, because nowadays it's like no matter what you do, you can find 15,000 people that are into it.
Yeah,
but,
for sure. Yeah,
but no, you were still out there kind of alone, right?
Yeah, and in Eastland, the internet speeds just weren't there. Dude.
I grew up in one of those small towns too,
yes,
where people were like, "Did you have this?" It's like they literally didn't have the infrastructure built yet.
Yeah, it just wasn't there. Yeah, I wanted to play like Call of Duty online. I couldn't.
No,
I never like got into like online video games for that reason because
that's fascinating.
I just had no patience for it.
And it's like your connection. It's like you're not going to be able to have the same gaming experience as these guys.
Not at all. So I would play the story, and then I'd be like, all right, I guess that $60 is burnt.
That was fun.
Yeah.
So when did you decide to give up doing magic and like I want to do comedy? Because it sounds like you were really into it.
Yes.
To just decide like, nah.
Yeah. Probably about like pretty quickly after doing stand up. Like that first time, I was like, I don't really care to continue to learn new tricks or like develop.
What was the difference for you? What was so much more exciting about stand up?
I think it's because I was doing my own thing. I wasn't like I wasn't like having to buy a little prepackaged thing, and like it was more actually me expressing something. It wasn't just a hard skill. Magic is like a hard skill.
That's
and comedy is like a soft skill. And so I think that's what it was like this new experience of like, ooh, how do I talk about things to make people laugh, Yeah.
Because it's still its own magic trick, right?
For sure.
You're still manipulating an audience.
Yes.
You're still taking them on the journey you want them to go on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've talked about that with other comics that are like, I just wait for the bits to come to me. And I'm like, you should definitely sit down and try to write bits.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And
it's that way with music. It's like, you can sit there and try to write music and nothing happens.
Yeah.
But you're not going to have that random song come to you unless you're sitting there trying
to write music
every
day.
Yeah. And then you might just be sitting without an instrument going like, oh my God, that would sound cool.
Yeah.
But to just be like, we'll just see if a song comes today.
Yeah, eventually, dude. Just wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where was if you're out in that small town, where were you performing at your stand-up? Where were you starting at?
So my mom would drive me 2 hours to Dallas.
No way.
Yeah.
What a great mom.
I know.
Are y'all still on good terms, hopefully?
Of course. Yeah,
okay,
yeah. Yes.
Wow. So was it Dallas Hyenas then?
Yes.
So that was my real start.
My first ever set was at Dallas Hyenas.
Oh, that's incredible. Just
yes.
Was it just an open mic, I'm assuming?
Yes. Yeah,
wow.
Wednesday we were in town for like a weird random doctor's visit, and then I was like, hey, can we go to the open mic? And she was like, sure. And her whole thought process was they'll tell him no.
They're not going to let a 16-year-old in here, and they don't know him.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, before you had asked your mom to do that, right?
Yeah.
How were you practicing material so that you could do an open mic?
Like I would practice magic tricks in
like
the
you
mirror.
Were just,
I had watched that movie Funny People.
Yes.
And so I like bought a legal notepad, and I had my license and stuff, so I just went to Walmart and bought one, and I was like, all right, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write some jokes. And then, because that like lifted the veil, like, oh, they're not making it up on the spot. They like sit down and they write and they try.
The movie lifted the veil for you?
Yes, yeah. And so I am like writing jokes of random stuff, and would just like practice in the mirror and like tell friends at school about them, work them into conversation. And yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
How was it like when you're working it into the conversation? Were they like laughing, or they're just like, "What is he talking about?"
It depends. Yeah. Hits and misses.
Did you tell them you were thinking about doing this yet? Like your friends? So they kind of knew what you were doing.
The close buddies knew that I was like, weirdly interested all of a sudden in stand-up comedy, and
Was anyone like, dude, you're the magic guy, don't ruin your brand?
Yeah, my dad. Yeah.
Seriously?
Yes, yeah. He was like, yes.
Was your dad into magic? Was he a magician as well?
No, he just thought it was cool. He was like, we loved your magic. Do you know?
First of all, you sound like you have great parents.
Yes, yeah.
Which is not typically the case of somebody who wants to go into comedy.
Hilarious. Yeah, you're not wrong. I think there was like a lot of stuff surrounding it, like divorces and all that fun stuff that maybe I could say I have trauma. Yeah. And but
no, it sounds like they're very supportive.
Yes, yeah. They've always been like super supportive. Yeah.
Wow. Well, what was it like taking the stage at 16? Like, first of all, when you walked into, it's not just Hyenas, but like any comedy club similar to Hyenas, and you're 16 years old and you see this new unique set of characters that are comics.
Yeah.
And the weird people like myself who go watch open mics at Hyenas every night. What are you thinking?
I was just like, I wasn't thinking much. I don't think. I was just very much like in the moment, like, I want to do this. Let's hope this goes well. And my mom said, there was the guy running the club, the open mic, was Jared Butler.
Okay.
And he was like, you saw like the list and you saw people. I saw what was going on, and I was like, hey, can I can you help me go sign up? And my mom was like, no, you go do it.
Wow.
Got to go do that. And I was like, all right. And so I went up and asked him, and he was like, I can put you up like end of the show, like late last block. And I was like, deal. Sounds good. And then we sat there for 4 hours until 1 in the morning.
So you came back and told your mom, like, he said maybe 1 in the morning. And she was like, okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah. We went, and I think we got like a little bite to eat, and she went and got Starbucks. And then
that is awesome.
We came back and watched like some crazy names were there. The first person to bring me up on stage was Tone Bell.
Wow. Yeah.
And so he was like an MC at the time.
Uh-huh.
And
that's So when you were sitting there watching some other comics before you went up,
yes,
were you just staying in the zone? Were you getting nervous? Or
I was like enjoying a lot of the comedy, and then it would fluctuate. Like I would be like, oh wow, so funny, and then like just like
yeah. Do you remember how it went?
It went good enough for Jared said, you can go up tonight since, you're here and stuff, but we're probably not going to make this a regular thing. But then afterwards he said, we're going to make this a regular thing.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So what age did you actually get to start working instead of just open mics?
21.
Yeah.
And I do think there was let's not have a kid with X's on his hands.
Going up on stage.
And like, just
it's weird that it's 21 though, because like at 18, you can serve alcohol, you can be around alcohol at 18 in a certain. I guess comedy clubs are 21 and up though, aren't they? Typically,
it depends. Yeah. Hyenas Fort Worth was 21 and up at the time, and I think I just didn't really have an opportunity because I lived so far away until I moved here, and I was living here to like even really make that a thing.
So does that mean from 16 to 21, you were just doing open mics all the time?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
And there was an era where so I had done maybe like 8 open mics, like 8 weeks of just driving out and doing it, and got like a call from Hyenas, and they said that I couldn't come back until I turned 18 because somebody had called Dallas Vice and said there's a kid here.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
But also it's like, unless that kid is sitting at the bar drinking.
Yes, that's what they told Dallas Vice, and that was not the case. My mom was not about that. Yeah. I was driving home,
So was that the only place you were trying to work on your stuff?
Yes, I just didn't really know.
Yeah.
Definitely, I couldn't go to bar mics and stuff. Yeah.
And you just didn't know about things like Backdoor Comedy Club. And, that kind of stuff.
I did end up going to Backdoor a little bit later when Linda saw me and like met my mom and stuff. And
of course, Linda met your mom.
Yes.
Yeah. That sounds very much like Linda.
Yes.
That's badass, man. So, how did you feel like you progressed a lot from 16 to 21, or did it take getting 21 and performing to get better?
Definitely progressed in like amount of material, but getting weekends, like doing 5 shows in 3 days and getting that like 15-minute times. When you're with all your buddies and you're all open micing and then someone gets that, it's like night and day. Like the next week at open mics, they are way more confident. They have a whole different stage presence. And so it's just those quality reps. I think that like, it's like you're getting 3 months of open micing in a weekend.
Yeah. Do you ever think about if your mom had just been like, I'm not taking you to that?
Yeah.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
Think like that was such a defining moment.
Yeah, because I grew up in, a small town. Like
2 hours, man.
Yeah,
That's
I don't know
drive.
that I would have ever found it, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, and so like now you know that like if you have kids, you're going to have to do something like that.
Yes.
You're going to have to pay it forward and like,
For sure, yeah. There's a documentary about Bam Margera and how, like, why he got so good at skateboarding is because his dad quit all of his own hobbies.
Wow.
And he was like, all right, this is my new life, is taking you to skate parks, taking you to, do this. He said he's a huge baseball fan and did not see one game from Bam being 14 to 18 or like even younger. Yeah, 12 to 18.
Oh, and it's crazy to think like he was painted in all of the Bam Margera stuff as like the idiot who he picked on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And meanwhile, he's like a huge key to the success.
Yeah, without dad using his, grown-up brain to like foster this success, you're just like a punk kid.
Yeah.
Skating around. Yeah.
That's incredible, man. I have a 3-year-old.
Yes.
And so I love hearing these stories about parenting because, you never know every generation of parents
Yeah.
thinks they have it figured out, and the
Right.
previous generations were idiots,
Yeah.
like, and yeah, I think a lot about what he's going to do for his hobbies, the things that he
Yeah.
enjoys, because like
Yeah.
you want to steer him towards things you like, but you also know that it's just up to him.
Yes.
You just never know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you hear stories like that, and you're like, okay, that's the
Yeah.
move. When he tells me,
Yes.
like, I was thinking about this, it's like, all right, let's go find out where that is.
Let's see how much you like it. And if you love it, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really don't think there's any amount of like, they have to want it to some degree when there's like sports or something involved, because I've definitely had lots of friends like growing up that parents like spent crazy amounts of money on private coaches and all this stuff. And ultimately they just didn't want it that bad.
Yeah, that only works if you already have a massive amount of drive.
Yes.
Right? And then it makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's the other thing I don't want to be. It's like I don't want to be that parent who's trying to live through my child.
Yeah.
And I already see myself like leaning in. I'm like, pick up this guitar.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, this is cool. Yeah. Now, I would say there's definitely like forcing them out of their comfort zone and like making them learn an instrument, even if they're not really excited to go to guitar practice every time.
Yeah.
I think there's some real value to that too.
Before you did magic and comedy, were they pushing you towards anything else?
Sports.
Yeah. Did you enjoy any sports?
No.
Yeah.
I wish I wasn't ever good at them.
What were you playing mostly, or what were you attempting?
Yeah, I was on the football team all 4 years of high school.
Was it a small school like mine where you don't try out, you're just on the team?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious.
I know what you mean.
If I tried out, then I wouldn't have been on the team.
Did you get to play at all? Or
yes, definitely like freshman, sophomore year. Played more than like junior, senior year because could you imagine though if you had been good at football and you got some kind of nickname like the Magic Man or something? Hilarious. Yeah, that would have been awesome. Yeah. But the reason I'm good at Magic is because I wasn't good at football. Yeah.
I know, but like how cool would it have been if you like scored a touchdown and then you like did a little trick in the end zone?
Yeah. I'm writing up trick plays using like the French drop.
All of a sudden, we're writing a new Disney movie about you.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you were like the person to make all young magicians cool.
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah.
So did they say like you have to play a sport? You should play a sport.
I think to some degree, my dad just was really a big baseball fan and wanted me to be good at baseball, and I was like, just not. And it just. And maybe it's because I like didn't practice that much, or didn't care.
Well, like you said, if you don't care, you're not going to practice.
I was out there daydreaming,
Yeah.
And so like, that's all it was. Yeah, and I did football because it was what was cool.
Yeah.
It was what
I played basketball all through high school. And I was okay at it. And like our team, in our small town, we won a district championship.
Nice.
And so we were like, we were okay.
Yeah.
And I was always, like medium athletic, like I enjoyed doing it. I liked doing it. And, but I did realize afterwards that a lot of it is just, that's that small town vibe, right?
Yes.
It's like, if you want any friends, that's kind of part of it, right?
Yeah,
like everybody
sure.
at least tried to do the sport. And because, I don't know how small your school was, but I graduated with, I think, 83 people.
Almost, I think
Similar
exactly
size.
the same.
Okay,
Yeah.
And so, it's like everybody played sports. Even the kids who sucked at sports played sports.
Yes, yeah.
And it's like they didn't like running laps, but they were all there.
Yeah.
And and I often wonder, like, who I would be if I went to a larger school.
Me too.
Where you had tryouts, because I don't think I would have made any of the teams.
Yeah. Yeah, and just more exposure to different types.
Yeah, I wonder, like, what would I have focused on?
Extracurriculars. Yeah.
And but I do like that I played sports because there's a lot to learn.
Yeah, there's a lot of intrinsic value.
Yeah.
That you get from like being on a team, and doing something that sucks or something that you're not great at, and like having to go do it every day, that also there's value there. But
I think one of the great lessons too was like I always thought I was working as hard or harder than some of the other players.
Yeah.
And they were just better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're just better. And it was like a great life lesson of like, man, sometimes that's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
And they can put in half the effort sometimes and they're still better than you.
Yeah.
And,
There's definitely a point in time when I was trying really hard to get better and really hard. And there was a point when I just kind of like threw in the towel. Pretty much when I started doing stand-up, I was like, I found my thing.
Yeah.
And I found the thing that I score touchdowns at. And it's not this. Yeah.
So, God, you remember that first big laugh on like a weekend show?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm assuming it was Hyenas, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was, I was booked, but they double booked MCs, and the other person was Latrice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
And she had already been working, and so she got it. And they said, "Well, pick whoever you want, and we'll make it happen for you." And so I ended up getting to open for Brad Williams. But before that weekend, I got to do guest sets all weekend. And guest sets are really fun when you're new because the crowd is warm, and you're only doing like 7 minutes.
You're usually coming in like a spot or two before the headliner, right? So you're like in that sweet middle spot where they're a little drunk but not too drunk.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And there were and it was with Tom Rhodes too.
Dude, so your first guest spots were with Tom Rhodes,
yes.
and then your first booked spot was with Brad Williams?
First book spot was with Steve Mudflat McGrew because I had already been booked on that one, but it was my first Fort Worth weekend. I had a Dallas weekend like 2 weeks later, and so I got to do that one. But then my next Fort Worth weekend was with Brad Williams.
But still, what an introduction to booked comedy!
Yeah,
holy shit! Did you know who Tom Rhodes was at the time?
Nope. But I went home and researched him, and I was like, "Whoa, this guy's really good and very successful." Yeah,
he was. I've told the story on here before, so sorry, people. But like before, I really knew how much I loved comedy. We were going to comedy shows, and it was just one of those things. Like I found out you could go to like free shows on Thursday.
Yeah.
So it was like when I was going to school and stuff in college, it was like, okay, this is an affordable thing we can do.
Yeah.
And then I had like some friends that we were like pretty close, but we weren't like great friends.
Right.
We would just go like meet up at bars or go do fun things, go to like a Rangers game or something. And everything kind of revolved around drinking and fun.
Yes.
And they had mentioned like, oh, have you ever been to a comedy club? And I was like, yeah, I've been to one. They're like, oh, we're going to go watch this guy. And it was Tom Rhodes.
Wow, yeah.
So that was the first kind of like big weekend headliner thing I'd watched. But I still didn't understand what it was.
Yeah.
And like I remember I was still nervous because I was like, I don't know like how you act at these things. Like I've only been to these free shows and they're kind of weird. Like, and he had this incredible moment where, again, I had no idea he was huge. And it was shortly after Michael Jackson had died, and he had this long bit about how he always thought he was going to be famous, and he'd be so famous he'd be like hanging out with Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And he had all these little tags about how like I'd finally be able to understand what he was saying in that one song and all this kind of stuff. Right? So people are laughing, and he gets this woman's a heckler, and she's like, "Too soon, too soon," right? And he's trying to handle it like a pro, and she keeps coming at him, and finally he's like. He switches gears and he's like, listen, all my peers are doing child molestation jokes. I'm up here talking about how I like the guy.
Yeah.
Can we move on? And she's not letting it go. So he's just laying into her.
Wow.
About, he's asking the guy that she's with, like, are y'all together? And no. And he's like, oh, thank God. I thought you were too lazy to jack off. And like, oh, he's just going in.
Yeah, just making
crowds losing their mind. She's getting pissed. Somehow, I don't know how, but like a minute or two after berating her, he's got the whole crowd singing a Michael Jackson song, including her, hands in the air. She's back on board.
Yeah.
Okay? And he somehow brought her around. And so I'm already watching this comedy magician here, right?
Yes, yeah.
Earlier in his set, he was talking about how British people use the word cunt, but they say coont.
Yeah.
And it's much more common for them to say coont. It's not as negative as it is here.
Yeah.
So that was like a whole separate bit 30 minutes ago, right? So after we sing the Michael Jackson sing-along or whatever, and he's doing the thing like, oh, I don't know where to go from here, and we're trying to get back in. He starts back in on a little bit more Michael Jackson material. She's now upset again. Upset again. And finally he breaks down. He's like, lady, I don't know what you want from me. I thought we were cool. He's like, what is your problem? And then the friend that I came with, still to this day, the only like really good heckle I've ever heard.
Yeah.
He just goes, she's a coon.
Nice.
And steals the old, and he like, the crowd goes wild.
Yeah.
He drops the mic. I think he like came over and sat down next to my friend or something. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do, man? And
That's
the show,
my line.
show was just totally off the rails.
Yeah.
And that was the first time where I was like, oh my God, this comedy thing is wild.
Yes.
And like that, before that, I never had understood like the unpredictability and like the effort that a headliner like that goes through to, you see the difference of what I had been watching versus this guy.
Right.
And and it's like after that, I really think that was the moment where I was just hooked, where I was like, I think I love this comedy thing.
Yes.
Because I'd seen like Blue Collar Comedy Tour and things like that. But this was so different, where it was like, how did he do that?
Yes.
When you leave, it's like, how?
The live event is so different from a special. It is hard to articulate. You can't really like put it into words, like the magic, the electricity that happens when you see live comedy. Yeah. Yeah. And especially someone like Tom Rhodes, like a great.
And that's what was more fun is like afterwards, I was like, oh, this guy's like a big deal.
Yeah. Oh, this guy's really good.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, that guy, like he was just the start of the comedy love,
Yes.
So to hear that you were opening for him, that's or guest spotting on his show,
and he was so cool all weekend too. Yeah, he was like giving me like tags and telling me like great encouragement. Yeah, it was awesome.
What are you thinking when you're finally on a show? Like, are you hanging out in the green room trying to talk to these guys, or are you just sitting there quietly? Or
yes, I don't think I ever went to the green room when Hyenas Fort Worth was at a different location. So I don't know where the green room was or if there was a green room. I don't know that there was one. Yeah. Because I was like, if there was, I'm not going back there. It wasn't until kind of recently that I was like, I deserve to take up space and to be a person in a room. Before I was just like, I'm not even gonna try to talk to a headliner until they've at least seen me on stage, and like I've proven that I'm worthy of being talked to, and that is a toxic way to think about things. And
because really he would have been like, oh, you're on the show, cool.
Yeah. Oh, you're most comics. Yeah. There's like oh yeah, you're doing this too. There's some inherent like
That's hilarious. Yeah. So were you just hanging out in the back of the club?
Yes. Yeah. Just quiet and
just getting nervous.
Yes. Yeah. Looking over my notes and yeah.
How did it feel on a weekend? Your guest spot that first time they're calling your name up.
Yeah, it was nuts. Yeah. It was it was kind of a long time ago, so it's hard to.
Do you remember if it was exciting or nerve-wracking? Or both?
Both. Yeah. It was definitely exciting. Like the adrenaline was pumping, and it went well, which is also good, and then I'm sure I had some weird goals of like, I'm going to do different jokes every, 5 minutes so I can prove that I can do the 15 minutes and, all these, personal things that got in the way of, being in the moment and enjoying it. But yeah.
Yeah. How long do you think it took before you could be in the moment and enjoy it?
Like last year.
Really? That long?
Yeah. Or like, where I wasn't, my therapist and I call it ultimate eventing.
Ultimate eventing.
Where it's like, oh, I've booked on this show. Oh, I've got my first weekend. This is an opportunity that is going to lead to great successes, or what we call Fuck You Island. We're going to go to Fuck You Island and we're going to eat grapes and we're going to be fanned by things because all this work I've been doing was leading to this moment. And the reality is there's just more work to be done always.
Interesting.
There's no such thing as Fuck You Island.
Wow.
Yeah. And so you just have to, come to terms with the fact that I'm just going to do this forever. And I'm just going to, maybe someday I'll do a show and some man with a fedora and a cigar in his hat will be like, "Hey, Sonny, do you want to come to Hollywood?" But don't bank on it. Just know that you enjoy the process and engage in process. Yeah.
So after you and your therapist had kind of talk about that, what was it called? Ultimate Eventing?
Yes.
After y'all had talked about that, what was the change that you decided you were going to make on stage to not do that?
It's really stuff around it.
Okay.
That like, I'm just not. I'm just gonna go have fun, and I'm gonna, before these bigger shows, I'm not gonna count any show bigger than the last, right? If I do an open mic, or if I'm opening for someone else, like some big name, it is not different. It's the same thing. I'm just doing the thing that I do.
Yeah.
And that mentality is what shifted it,
Interesting.
Because like putting all this weight behind one show, and if it doesn't go well,
yeah, because now you're setting yourself up to, I'm a loser.
Yeah.
I blew it.
Yeah.
That didn't work.
Yeah.
And it's not true at all. There isn't a single moment that defined anything.
Yeah. And so...
Except for your mom taking you behind that one time.
Yeah. Kind of that.
But that's probably the most important moment of your career.
Yeah.
Like, that was the only thing where if it didn't happen, it might not have happened.
Yes. Yeah. Everything else is just...
Yeah.
Another, day of doing it.
It is weird, because even as a comedy fan... I get stressed for you guys sometimes because a comedy show is so fleeting.
Yeah.
Like one of the reasons I can remember a lot of y'all's stuff is I do something you're not supposed to do, which is I'll record audio when I'm at shows. And I know I'm not going to be malicious and release audio.
Right. Yeah.
But it's literally just for me to be like, oh, God, that's right. That was that thing. That was that thing.
Yeah.
To be able to keep up whenever, I talk to someone again.
Yes.
And just to relive that excitement I had that made me go like, oh, I'd love to have them on the show.
Yeah.
So I'll record a lot of shows that way. But you realize it's like, man, it's like everybody had a great time and then they're on to the next thing. Yes. It's just it's such a fleeting thing.
Over. Yeah.
So the stress of like, I got to nail this. This is my whole life.
Yeah. Riding on this moment. It's not.
Do you remember how you and your therapist even got on that topic? Because that's such a random thing to even discuss.
Yeah, it's built into like his style. There's a documentary called The Tools, called Schultz. It's a Jonah Hill made it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, my therapist studied under that guy.
Oh, wow.
And so he, it's just baked into this like creative philosophy of like. He says, he's had some pretty high profile clients, and he's like, the day 3 days after you win the Oscar, you'll be on the bathroom floor crying, thinking you're going to end it all because it didn't deliver you to this new place. Yeah.
Yeah. But what about what you were doing made you want to talk about that? What was going on with you in your life?
Yeah, I think that was another reason why I stepped back, right? Was like, I would get booked on these shows, like opening for TJ Miller or Tim Dillon, and then they'd bring their own person. And I would be like devastated.
That was it. That was your shot.
Yeah. I was like, oh, this relationship I could have built that could have led to other things and all this stuff, it's over. And I'd really let that affect me negatively. And so like just getting to a new place where I'm, not holding it in such high regard. It's just another show. Yeah. And if I get to do it, that's great, and if I don't, I will go find somewhere else to do stand up, or I'll go do something to write a bit about. I won't just stay in my room and be sad that I didn't get to do it.
After having kind of that revelation with your therapist, do you feel like you've gotten to that point now where you can just go on the show, or like how long do you think it took you if you have gotten to that point?
It's definitely like still kind of something I deal with, of like really wanting to do well but still also wanting to grow. And if you want to grow as a comedian, you're gonna do bad, like you're gonna bomb. And so it's just it's like a daily thing, But I would say like after 3 months of meeting and like doing stand up and stuff and having it go poorly a few times and like texting him about it, he was like, hey man, it's just another rep, and it is what it is. How it goes does not dictate whether or not you're going to do it tomorrow.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And because that's the plus side of it being fleeting is like, if you're really terrible, most of them don't remember you anyway.
No one remembers. Yeah.
I will say that that Plano show I saw you on, now that you talked about it, about what you just did. That was one of the things I think I realized now that I've got to watch you again recently versus years ago, in addition to just having new material because your life has gone in the direction it's gone and you've grown. But there was I couldn't put my finger on it because there was something that was a little bit different about your set that night than some of the other folks' sets, right? And a lot of them had a little bit, I don't mean it in any negative way, but just they don't have as many reps as you yet. Okay. You know what I mean? Like they're at not a lower tier, but they're earlier in their comedy journey, right?
Yeah.
And you do notice a difference, when you take the stage now. There is like a comfort there.
Yes.
There you can tell like this guy has done this, but you're also not going, I'm about to blow your fucking mind. It wasn't overly confident.
Yes, yeah.
And at a bar show like that, even though it's a well-produced bar show, there's still glasses clinking in the background and conversations going on and people swinging the door open coming in from the street.
Yes.
But it does seem like you've found that gear that you were just talking about.
Yes, yeah.
Do you feel like that? Or
I do, yeah. I did shows this past weekend, and one of them or two of them I kind of got in my head about, and I was not there, but then both late shows I was there. I got back. So it's just like...
So it's just going to be constant anyway.
Yes, of that kind of struggle. And
because every time you get a new opportunity, you're going to have to try to center yourself again and be like, just another thing.
Yep.
And it's going to be so hard,
Yeah. Well, if someone's like, Dave Chappelle's like, hey, you want to come open for me? I'm like, it's just a show, just another
no big thing.
Another open mic, dude. It's just, it doesn't even matter.
If you go on Joe Rogan's podcast, it's like, just another show.
Just another podcast.
I did I'm a fan of.
Yeah. It's just another day at the office. Yeah.
But there is so much truth to that, right?
Yeah.
Because the idea is you're not getting nerves.
Yes.
Right? And the more loose you are in anything, the better you're going to be.
For sure. Yeah. And there's also, we do shadow work, which is like the part of you that you're terrified of everyone finding out, like, the imposter syndrome or like whatever it is that you're like, oh, I don't want to be seen as this. So
what is shadow work then? What does that mean? Like you talk to the therapist about those things? Like I've always been afraid of this?
Yes, and I talk to myself about...
Oh, yourself. Okay, yourself.
About, so like you saw me early on when you might have seen me in my bow tie era.
Yep.
When I was real, almost hammy and like goofy. And
I wouldn't have said hammy. I would have said goofy.
Okay, yeah.
That was the change I was talking about.
Yes.
Is back then, even though it was very funny, it was very regimented.
Yes.
You're going this route.
Yep.
Whereas when I saw you more recently, it seemed, I was like, he's loose.
Yeah.
This is like, I saw the foundation that you've always had, but I was like, man, because there was even much more, like to your point, it wasn't hammy, but like previously it's like, okay, I can tell he thought to himself, like, this is the point where I'm going to bring my energy up.
Yes.
Whereas now it's just like you're kind of feeling the room and you're like, do I need to bring the energy up right now?
Yeah.
Anyway, go on. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no. Yeah, very much. Yeah. But so before I go on stage, another big part of why I kind of stepped back was like, I'm not that guy. I'm not the hammy, naive kid that I was when I started stand-up. The former magician turned stand-up, doing stand-up with like a magician's philosophy, I guess. And I am a new person. I'm like a 29-year-old man. How do I, be that person on stage? But to like stay loose, I have to like talk to that version of myself and say, hey, I don't want you gone. There's something about you that is positive and you've got to come on stage with me. And we're going to rock this shit, dude. We're going to kill this show. Yeah. That was the existential crisis era of like, this guy has to die. And,
interesting. Wow. So that was all kind of during COVID?
Yes. Yeah.
You may be one of the few examples where it was great that you quit for a little bit.
Yeah.
I
think so.
A lot of people get worse, right? Because it's like, but it sounds like you really took the time that you quit to reevaluate a lot of things.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And I think a lot of the people that quit don't want that old version of themselves to come back with them.
Yeah.
You know, they want that old version to just, everyone forget that I ever wore bow ties. Everyone forget that I ever did magic. Everyone, you know, I'm a different person now. Don't think about that guy. But then I'm like, no, that guy got me to where I am.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and that guy had the balls to do magic and get on stage and do all these things. And it's like, without that guy, you wouldn't have the confidence to go sign up for an open mic on a Wednesday. You know, like it's a crucial step that it's okay to leave behind.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we don't get as much of it from like the legends because they didn't have cell phones. But like I saw a clip of Ron White performing in like the 70s or something.
Whoa, yeah.
And he's like, his act was still, I mean, he's still Ron White. He's still hilarious. But it was cheesy.
Yeah.
Right? Because that was the comedy at the time.
Yes.
Cheesy. And he's like pudgy.
Yeah,
Like now he's like a thicker, husky man with like gravitas, right?
Yes,
you know? But then he was just kind of pudgy and goofy and like his guts hanging over his belt and he's got like a T-shirt or something tucked in, and he had like a weird mustache. He didn't have like the cool silver comb back hair yet.
Yeah.
And he was really funny, but you're just like, God, like it's okay. Like,
yeah.
And knowing that, like, you know, that guy got him to what he is now.
Yeah.
And it's like, Jesus, now he's on like legendary status.
Yes,
and now if you're lucky enough to see him in a room, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
But to think like he's probably going through the same thing where like, if he sees that clip, he's like, God damn, I hope nobody sees this.
Yeah. It's like, oh, that guy. Yeah.
That's fascinating. I never thought about it that way of like wanting to kind of kill off the old self.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So how would the shadow talk go? You're just is it like a form of meditation in your mind?
A little bit, yeah. Just kind of right before a set. Sometimes, or when I first came back, I had to do this. I had homework where I had to do I had to imagine myself doing as terribly as it could go, and then think about how would that feel and how would that affect everything going on in my life. Probably wouldn't. And then you go on stage with this newfound freedom to like, oh, if I bomb, who cares? You know, like it's. Yeah.
You gained the confidence of all those terrible open micers that are super confident.
Yes.
You know?
Because
you're always jealous of them where they go up and it's horrific, but they're having the time of their life.
They are killing to themselves. Yeah. Yes.
So what was the moment where you decided like, I think I'm at a point where I can come back, that I want to perform again?
Oddly enough, someone told me today, they're like, a lot of people start stand up because of a breakup. And I had been in a relationship through my return to college, and she was like kind of very negative about doing stand up and thought it was like not cool or like not just she wasn't about it. And so I was like, yeah, maybe I don't go back. I don't know. You know, we'll see what happens. And then that ended, and my buddy Tony Casillas, shout out Tony forever for this, came and stayed with me. Like I called him about it like pretty much the day after, and he made me laugh and made it great. And then he was like, I'm gonna be at the Plano House of Comedy 1.5 weeks from now, and I'm gonna stay with you, and you're gonna come with me to every show. And I was like, deal, you know. And so he pulls in, and then it's Friday early show. Eddie Ift is the headliner. And he was like, man, I really want a sandwich. Can you stretch, Tony? Can you do like 30, 35? And Tony's like, no way, dude. I'm not trying to do that tonight. Cause like, it wasn't, the crowd was like, it was raining all day, and just like you could tell people canceled, and it was just like, maybe
wasn't the hottest crowd.
Maybe like 120 people or something, which is a great number, but it's still like, I don't know, man.
I know what you mean. It changes the mood of the room.
Yes.
It's not that audience isn't fine. It's just it's going to take a little more work.
Yeah, and he says, Parker will do it. And I was like, what? No, I won't.
Oh my gosh.
He's like, yeah, no, Parker can do it. Parker's great. Parker's been doing stand-up since he was 16. And I was like, I haven't done stand-up in nearly 2 years, my guy. And he's like, you'll be great. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. He's a pro. He's natural.
And I'm like going up in minutes at this point.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Great, you go do it. I'm going to Shake Shack." And,
and you were just thinking, I'm going to hang out with Tony. I'll appease him and come with him.
Yeah. Or like he'll appease me and give me something to do other than sulk and like think about what could have been or whatever. Yeah, and just get my mind on something else and hanging out with buddies and So I end up doing, and then I do that first guest set. Goes terribly. Eddie was like, "How'd it go?" And Tony's like, "Killed it." he should do guest sets the rest of the weekend. and he was like, "Go ahead, sounds fun." And so I end up I do guest sets the rest of the weekend, and I bomb every single one of them.
Oh wow!
And me and Tony decided, he was like, I think it's good. If you came back and killed, you would be like, "Oh, I don't got to put any work in." But now you're about to get back to work, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, because did it bother you that you didn't kill?
Oh yeah. It ain't riding a bike. It is. It is hard work to be good at comedy. And there was
because if you really didn't love it, when you bombed, you would just be like, "Well, that's why I fucking quit. That's why I didn't want to do it."
Yeah. There was a moment my leg was shaking, and I noticed it, and then I noticed everyone in the room noticed it, and I was like, I hate that.
When you did those guest spots, did you even mention that you'd taken a break and or were you trying to own it like you'd never taken a break?
Yeah. I was like, I don't need any crutches. Let's just go up there and see.
Tony.
Yes. And then, oddly enough, he took me to go see Ron White. That Saturday night, we just pulled up to the Toyota Music Factory and
oh wow.
Yeah, got to go I got to shake his hand. It was crazy. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably one of the few people I would get a little starstruck by.
Yeah, for sure. He was my first comedy show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Are we running low on time? Are we about to wrap up? Or?
No.
Okay.
No, I got nothing but time.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, you're good.
I would love to tell you.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah. Growing up, we weren't super wealthy or anything. Mm-hmm. So my parents found out we wanted to go to concerts and stuff. And so they found this D&L Entertainment. And so if you are in the Dallas area and you go to a show and people are ushering you to seats, look at their shirt. It might say D&L.
Okay.
And, you could be 14 and work for them. And so at 14, 15, they signed us up, me, my stepbrother, mom, and stepdad, to all go be ushers at a Ron White comedy show in San Antonio, Texas.
Did they know it was a Ron White comedy show?
They did, but they knew him from the Blue Collar Comedy Tour.
Gotcha.
They were not.
Yeah, because I'm picturing this lovely Church of Christ family going to watch Ron White.
Yes, yeah. So they were like, "Oh yeah, he's just like Jeff Foxwell. He's a funny guy." Yeah. But I knew
tater
him.
salad.
Yeah, I was already a pretty big comedy fan, so I was like, he's not what y'all think he is, but I'm not gonna let y'all know. And
so you're ushering people, and then you get to sit back and watch the show for a little while.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was the first comedy show.
Yes.
Wow. I'm assuming that was at a theater or something, right?
Yes. Yeah, a big theater. Yeah.
Wow.
We stayed at an Embassy Suites. I'll never forget it. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't get to meet him then. My stepdad got to meet him. Yeah. But his tour manager came out and said, "Ron says thank you to everyone for,
Yeah, for working.
Yeah.
That's what were they like on the ride home after they realized he was a little more than blue collar?
There was a little speech about what's appropriate and what's not. Yeah.
That's such a classic dad move too. Of we're gonna go watch a wholesome comedy show.
Yeah.
And it's your mom had to be fuming afterwards. How could you take them to this?
Yeah. Do you know nothing?
Yeah.
We're trying to, and then they had this real problem of okay, well, if we leave, we're setting a bad work ethic example. But if they stay, they're being exposed to this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I would have loved to have heard that argument after you guys went to bed.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're done going to D&L stuff. Yeah.
What a fantastic first comedy show, though.
Yeah.
I don't think I can remember my first comedy show like that. I just don't know what it was. I had a weird, it wasn't a comedy show, but do you remember those stores at the mall, Fast Forward and Zoomies and those things? Okay.
Yes.
So I had a very short job at Zoomies, and we had to do inventory for the store. So you showed up. I can't remember if it was early or late, but we're there when it's closed, and we're just like, you're counting clothes, making sure everything's there. It's fucking boring. But somebody had Dane Cook's audio album.
Yes.
And that was one of the first times where I'd heard comedy that wasn't on, like a mainstream channel or like a big movie or something. Because he was famous, but he wasn't like household name famous
yet. Yeah.
And just watching people like folding clothes and shit, losing their mind. Yeah. I think that was like my first thing of like, this is weird. This is interesting.
Yeah.
Because other than that, it was like Blue Collar or like Seinfeld, where you see the little clips. Of the show, and you're not really getting it.
Yeah.
You're not getting a full. Because even Blue Collar, it's not like you're getting, because they probably did what, like 30 minutes each or something. That's still not even a full Ron White experience.
Yes.
He's giving you the filtered down.
Yeah.
So what an incredible first show, man.
Yes, yeah. And before that, I had bought Comedy Central Presents Best of Volume 2 on, I don't know why I picked Volume 2. I picked a random one.
It's got to be better than Volume 1.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, why would they? Yeah. And because I got like an iTunes card for Christmas and watched all of those like those little 30-minute specials over and over and over again. And it was like Daniel Tosh, Kyle Cease, Nick Swartzen, Ron White, Kevin Hart, Dave Attell. Yeah, it was
It's nuts to think about how many people can get good at it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's not a lot of great people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you list off those names like that, but at like one time, I mean, how many phenomenal headliners do you think there are?
Right.
1,000?
Wow,
maybe?
yeah, that's...
Maybe?
There's some sleepers out there too. So it's like, that, and like in terms of like headlining clubs, clubs to arenas, probably 1,000.
And it's like there's 7 billion people.
Yeah, well,
it's a small number.
Yeah,
and so I don't know. It blows your mind to think about how few like it just goes to show how hard it is to get really great at it. Yeah, the Ron White thing kind of blows my mind about the first show ever. That really had to set the bar.
It did. Yeah. Oh man, I have a story. I took my younger brother to a comedy show, and it was Louis C.K. At Addison Improv.
Yeah, was that the one recently when he came?
Yes.
Yeah, I went to one of those shows.
Okay, yeah. And he had like just turned 18. I actually think he was 17, and we just got him in. And he was like laughing so hard. He said I couldn't breathe most of the time he was on the stage. And then he goes to college and there's like a stand-up comedy night. And he's like, guys, we gotta go.
It's going to be incredible.
You have no idea how good stand-up comedy can be or how it is. He had no other bar. And then he goes and it's like half open mic of like other students and half like, someone from that doesn't even do stand-up. They're from like, Wizards of Waverly Place or something. And he was like, what is this? This isn't at all how I...
Well, thanks for taking us to this, man. This is great.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That's me and my wife, man. I have to really cherry pick the shows that I bring her to now.
Yeah.
Because I just enjoy going to so many. Even if it's kind of a rough show, it's like I can usually find the one or two where I'm like, oh, I got to see this person. That was great,
Yeah.
And I forget some of the really awful stuff pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Where she just like grinds her teeth and is like, what is happening?
Yeah.
But oh my God. So you went to one of those Louis C.K. shows, man.
Yeah.
That was just so much fun. And it's like I took heat from some peers about going to watch him.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, fuck it. This guy is a master.
Yeah.
And I will never see him in a venue this small ever again. Ever.
Yeah.
It's like, in true to form, it's like now he's doing Madison Square Garden again.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's like that was my only chance to see him 30 feet away.
Yes. And it's a different... I've seen a few like big venue comedy shows now, and I'm like, I liked it more than I expected to, but I wasn't... It's just not the same.
Yeah. The last big show I watched like that was Tom Segura. We went out to Grand Prairie to watch him.
The Verizon Theater.
Yeah. And I'm not going to do any venue that size or larger ever again.
Yeah. I saw Bert Kreischer there.
Yeah.
And that's the one I was like, I enjoyed myself, but I wasn't laughing so hard I couldn't breathe.
It's nothing to do with the comic.
Yeah,
it's just not an ideal venue. And I know what they're doing. It's like they got to make money.
Yeah.
It's a money grab. It's like, would you rather do 2 nights at this massive venue and make so much money, or would you rather do 5 shows at a club and make far less money?
Like the difference in money is nuts.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything more than like a mid-level theater now, that's my max. I think theaters are the maximum you can get, where like even if you're in a balcony, it's like you can still see facial expressions without needing a monitor, so you're still in it.
Yeah, like Majestic or something.
That's like my gold standard of theaters around here. It's so beautiful.
It's great. Yeah.
It's like when you sit down in there, and I'd also seen Tom Segura at the Majestic maybe like 2 years before. Where he was big, but he hadn't hit this insane level he's at now. And that was probably the last time. That would have been before Louis C.K. at Improv. And again, it was like I took a friend with me. It was me, my friend, and my wife. And he really didn't know who Tom Segura was. And it's like, I'm laughing so hard, the hardest I've laughed in a long time. And then I look over and he, you're totally blindsided by Tom Segura when you don't know what he does.
Yeah.
Right? When you don't know you don't know his shtick. And I got to look at him and go like, oh, that is what it's like the first time you see him. It's like, and then I was like even more pumped. It's like, I'm so jealous that he's having that experience,
Yeah. My, at the Louis show, my brother said that he'd look at me and he was like, sometimes I'd look at you and you weren't laughing at all. It looked like you were at a lecture. And I was like, I was.
Well, and I was so intrigued by how he was going to address all of the drama he'd gone through. And the way he came out. And it was just out of the gate saying, I was you just realize like, he's a master.
Yeah.
He's a master.
Yes.
And I mean, I think Bill Burr is probably my absolute favorite. I just really connect with his anger and rage.
Yes. And he makes people laugh at crazy topics. He does it so well. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm waiting, he's so big now, all he does is massive things.
Yeah.
And I want to watch him live so bad, but I just don't want to go to that show.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think if I told him that to his face, he would get it.
Yeah. Oh, of course he would.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. He knows.
Yeah. And it's like, I get what you're doing, man. Make your money, do your thing. Yeah. But it's like, please come do a theater. Come do 5 nights in a row at the Majestic.
Yeah.
And
I saw him. Maybe not. Does the Majestic have 3 balconies?
Yes, I believe so.
Then,
it's the one here in downtown, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. A long time ago.
I mean,
I was on the 3rd balcony, but so I wasn't like seeing him.
Yeah.
But I bet he goes to Mothership someday. And
he has to, right?
And you could maybe,
I don't think I can get tickets to the Mothership.
Yeah.
It seems just impossible right now.
Yeah.
It seems like everything sells out.
So
which good for them.
Yeah.
It should.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm hoping what they're doing down there becomes infectious up here.
Yes.
Because our clubs are great.
Yes.
But I think everything can improve.
Yeah.
And I think they're setting like a new gold standard of like maybe how to treat comics and performers as like we both like the club needs you and you need the club and let's treat it that way.
Yes. Yeah. I really hope so too. Yeah.
I hope so because we've got enough here. This is a rock solid scene. There's so many clubs. And it's
nuts.
Like it wouldn't I don't think it would take much to elevate it to another level.
I think you're right.
I think we're already at a good level, but I think it wouldn't take much effort on everyone's part, myself included, like doing this show and stuff, like to just go boom up to one more notch and go, holy shit, have you seen what's going on in Dallas-Fort Worth?
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah, I think we can do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you think, in your opinion, is one of the biggest things that you would like to see here that would help performers? Because I think about that a lot, about like what we lack. That
what I love that's happening currently is Cowabunga. I think what they're doing is really cool, and I think because they're these off night great shows. Like what I think like the formula to get good at stand up is quality stage time.
Yeah.
How do we get people to come to open mics and go to and want to go see potentially new comics.
Well, what do you think it is about, because it's Vinny and Niaz that run that show, right?
Yes.
It's the two of them.
Yeah.
What do you think it is about them that is packing those shows? Because the first one I saw, the only one I've seen was that one in Plano.
Yeah.
And it's like, because I saw a couple names that I knew were going to be on there, and I'd been trying to watch one of their shows. But the only reason I was really interested in watching one of their shows is because I kept hearing other people go like, oh, Vinny and Niaz are putting on this really good show. You should go check it out. Yeah. And I was like, I keep hearing this. And then true to form, it's like I show up, the place is packed, sold out, and it's just a bar show.
Yeah.
Why are they able to fill it out?
Yeah.
You know, what do you think it is on their part?
I do think they're working really hard.
Yeah.
Like they've cultivated a brand. They are focusing in on like a specific area of the DFW. They're not trying to do things in Dallas. They're not trying to do things in Fort Worth and like spread themselves too wide. They've got their like 3 spots and I think they're just really good at like letting people know about it. Like they're going to every apartment complex nearby the venue and flyering it up. Yeah.
I love hearing that.
Yeah.
I know Niaz through like friends back. Like I've kind of known him for like 10 years, but we're not like close. Right.
Right.
And actually this record over here for Brave Little Hal, he was an assistant sound engineer on that.
Really?
Because I recorded that with that band. Yeah. It's like a live show that we did.
Yes.
And
that's interesting.
Nathan Jones, who was the engineer on that, who recorded everything, he's good friends with Niaz and was like, hey, I could use a guy to help me like set up mics and all that kind of stuff. So it's like I've always kind of been around Niaz. And then I saw he was doing comedy. And I remember sending him a message being like, hey, like I do a podcast and stuff. I was like, I'm sure you're not ready to come on or anything. I was like, but when you're ready, I'd love to come watch a set. And he was like, I'm not ready.
Not yet, yeah.
But then I kind of got to watch this transformation of like, okay, he's doing more shows and now he's putting on shows. What's going on here, And he's always been, from my memory anyway, a very excitable guy.
Yeah.
Like when he gets into something that he enjoys, he really loves it.
Yeah.
And so I've always, because I remember he was doing some other projects back in the day. Like, I'd bump into him maybe like twice a year. Wow. That kind of thing. Yeah. And I remember he was trying to do stuff with bands, maybe like produce shows or like record stuff. I don't remember what it was. And then I heard they were doing these shows, and I was like, well, that should be fun, like everybody, a lot of people do shows, good luck. And then I just kept hearing all the grumblings. But when I see him at those shows talking to people, I think it's that fire in him. Like there's that, he really loves doing it.
Yeah.
And when he's talking about it to other people, it doesn't seem like that gimmicky sales pitch.
No.
It seems like he's just chatting, and he's like, if you want to come out,
we'll be there. He loves.
Yeah. And then, Vinny Corrales, he's always been a similar way. He's just a little more, he's got his own laid back, chill way of being psyched about things. But it's pretty fascinating. I would agree with you. You definitely need, I don't know if you need more of it, but it needs to be executed as well as they're attempting to execute it at least.
Yeah.
Because it feels like it's a hard, there's not a very clear step ladder here.
Right.
Of going from an open mic to getting better to be able to do clubs.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear you say that then. A lot of people are just like, I don't know.
Yeah. I think, how do we, the question is, how do we make more quality stage time for the people putting in the work, Yeah,
because Dallas Comedy Club, they do a great job of having a lot of different shows on the off nights.
Yes.
And I love that club, but it just seems like it's so hard. I've never figured out why some nights for them, the showroom is empty. And then some nights it's packed.
Full. Yeah, the open mic there is always pretty popping.
And
which
then
is crazy.
I'll go to some of the random offbeat shows that are great premises. And again, some nights it's like they've got a good crowd, and then other nights, like literally, I went to one recently, and I walked in and I was the audience.
Whoa,
just me.
Yeah.
And we were waiting to see if like 1 or 2 more people showed up.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't care. I'm happy to have that weird experience.
Yeah.
But it's like, I know this is a good club.
Yeah.
I know these are good comics. What is it about tonight that they're not here,
I think Austin has the advantage of 6th Street.
People
are just walking around, drinking, looking for something to do.
Are they barking down there? Are they trying to?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably a huge part of it.
Yeah.
I do think, we don't have any of that here, but I don't know how well we could make that happen here.
It's a bit more spread out here.
Yeah.
It's hard to get the density of people to just come off the street and see a show.
You may have touched on something though with Cowabunga and hitting up apartment complexes, because that is its own DIY version of barking.
Yes,
and it's just proof that you got to do something,
Yeah, and people in those areas they don't have as many options.
Oh yeah,
I think that's also really smart. Of Plano,
and they don't.
McKinney.
I'm a Dallas snob. I live here in Dallas, and I love Dallas, but Plano and McKinney do not want to drive to Dallas.
Nope.
They don't want to do it, and I get it. I don't want to drive to Plano and McKinney. You know,
and I can go like catch a cool show on a Wednesday night when I was planning to just stay at home and you know, watch Peacock or something. Yeah, you know,
yeah. That's fascinating. Yeah. And well, I'm not going to say that. I don't want to knock on anybody, but I do. Like, I didn't know what to expect when I came, but I was to that show, but I was very impressed. Like, I knew they were drawing a crowd, but when I came in and I was literally like I had to ask a table of people if I could just join them because there was no seat. Yeah. And I was like, may I? And they're like, yeah, of course, go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's fascinating. They, I know they're ambitious people.
Yes.
I'm going to be excited to see where it's at a year from now.
Yeah. And I'm trying to come up with something that I can produce and do.
Oh, you want to produce a show?
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be strict stand-up, but I've had the idea to do something like, do you remember the show At Midnight?
No, I don't think I've heard of that.
It was like a panel show hosted by Chris Hardwick.
No, I've never heard of it.
Yeah. I think it'd be fun to do something like adjacent to that.
Okay. Yeah. Have you thought more deeper about how it would go?
I know you'd have to find people who are willing to write for something that's only going to happen once. And so,
Yeah, but there's a lot of fun in that.
There is, yeah.
I mean, that's what's fun about those DCC shows.
Yes.
Is even if you know the performer, you're not seeing their normal material.
Yes,
you know? Yeah. Well, what do you think you have to do to get one going?
Find the people.
Yeah.
Also, like, flush out the idea and then potentially pitch it to DCC or wherever would have me, you know? Yeah.
Do you think Hyenas will ever come around to doing more off-night stuff like that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've been so rooted in that club for so long.
Yeah. I think that it's just like I know that they want to keep, like, I don't want to speak to things that I don't know, but I do think it's just like a bit like they have a good thing going. Why?
That's true.
Their
system has been working for a very long time.
Yes, yeah, they're the oldest clubs in the DFW, and so it's like, they're just not. I don't think they're gonna like be like, oh, let's be open on a Tuesday night and employ staff and you know, do all this stuff for a chance for 4 people to come. You know.
Sure.
Yeah.
I guess I'm more of an optimist where, you know, I view it the other way of, I desperately want us to have the club like the Cellar or the Comedy Store where it's comedy 5 to 7 nights a week.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not just, it's like, I want that place where people are like, if we're in town, we've got to go check it out.
Yeah.
And I don't know which club's going to do it, but one of them, they need to become that.
I think, I definitely think it's possible to become something like that.
Why not? There's like 7 million people in DFW.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like it should be easy to get 200 there.
Yes.
You know? Or whatever,
right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You're not wrong. Yeah. It should be like,
I mean,
the equation makes sense. Yeah.
I think you keep the open mic, you know, where it's at, but there is room for something on Mondays and Tuesdays there.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just like, I live like a mile from the Dallas Hyenas.
Yeah.
So I would love to have that option of like, let's just go see a cool show, you know? Yeah. But it's interesting.
Yeah, I agree. You know, how, I don't know, you know, I think what's great, what happened with Austin is like, it's the chance of seeing one of the greats come in at any venue at any time.
Yeah.
You know, that's also the reason the Cellar is big. And that's also the reason the store is big. So it's like,
and when they come in, they're, well, maybe not so much at the Mothership, but like if you were to see them at the Cellar, you know, and I guess I'm just assuming, I haven't watched those shows there, but it feels like from what you see online, it's like even though they're incredible, it's like at that moment, they're like every other comic taking the stage that night.
Yep.
So you're seeing them in a very unique, you know,
they're
like
working out a new 10 minutes.
You might see a shitty set from some amazing comic.
Yeah.
And that is so exciting.
Yeah. And there's this like, you know, trickle down or like osmosis thing happening in Austin where like the Vulcan is sold out every night because you think it might, you know,
they might come on over.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I think, that's the model. Like to me, I would love to know I am at, you know, Backdoor Comedy Club and somebody who's performing at Hyenas dropped in because they're going to be there for the weekend. They came in a night early to drop in at Backdoor unannounced, you know, or that kind of stuff. I'm hoping since Ralph Barbosa
Yeah.
I'm hoping maybe his newfound fame will help kick some of that off. Like, he's on a very hot moment.
Yes.
Maybe when that cools a little bit and he can take some time off, maybe he can start cultivating a little of that around here. Because he'll be, I mean, at this moment, he's the biggest name from here, right?
For sure.
Right?
Easily.
And so...
I mean, unless you count Ron White. But, yeah.
Is he Dallas?
Yep.
I did not know that. I thought it was somewhere else. I knew it was Texas, but...
Yeah, I think he's from a really small town. But
sure,
then
but around the area.
His start in Dallas.
Yeah, we'll take it.
I would. Yeah.
Oh, wow. No, I never really thought about where he was from in Texas. That's interesting. But I don't know. Maybe he can be the guy where it's like, oh, yeah, if you come to my town, you got to do this club. You know, I'll come do it with you or something. Kind of the way Tony drug you out to Plano.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd
exactly.
be a lot of fun. Interesting.
Yeah.
You know, Tony was the first guest on this show?
No way. That makes sense.
Daniel Magden was the first interview, the first person I invited.
Yes.
And I got to see him at an open mic, and I watched him at like 2 more shows.
No way.
And I loved
Daniel.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we didn't have any episodes or anything, so he had nothing to look at. And I think he was like, Tony, I don't want to go to this by myself kind of thing, maybe. Because he's like, do you mind if I bring my... I was like, absolutely. You know? And then Tony showed up, and I'd kind of seen... Like, I was scouting a little bit of all the comics, but it's so vast. I was following him on Instagram, but I hadn't seen much. And he wasn't in a stage where he was posting a lot of clips or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember thinking like, oh, what a great interview. He was super fun. And then I got to go watch him perform, and it was... I think I got to watch him at the Harvest House in Denton.
Whoa, and I remember those shows.
It wasn't even like a packed crowd or anything, and he's still doing a great job. And then I got to see him at bigger shows and stuff, and I was like... So then I felt really lucky. I was like, wow, what a great first interview, him and Daniel Magden, you know?
Yeah.
I pretty much looked out. Is Daniel doing it still? Where's he at?
I know he's at, last I heard, he was in New York City. Oh, okay. And I think he was still doing it. Yeah.
Okay,
good. Yeah.
I'd reached out to him a few times. I was like, how's it going? And he'd be like, going well, or I'm on a sad break. I was like, okay.
I get it. Yeah.
Good luck, man.
Yeah. You got it. Yeah.
Oh, man. But, I mean... Talking about our scene, I've now been watching it just long enough to where I'm seeing people come and go and seeing people spread out to different areas.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to see and understand a little bit of that ebb and flow that happens.
Yes.
And it is really interesting to see who sticks with it and who it's not for, and who decides to move where. And all these people are getting these different paths now. Yeah. And they're all doing well in very different ways.
Yeah.
And it's super exciting.
It is, yeah. I think Dallas is an incredible place to get really good. And if you want to build a career, you kind of got to go somewhere else.
Yeah,
and that sucks, but that's just how it is right now.
Yeah,
you know. But
I'm hoping and then I'm hoping there are lots of other people who would like to do something similar to what I'm doing here. Yeah, and then maybe we can build in some of that infrastructure that you guys need.
Yes,
that's what I would love.
That would be great. Yeah,
I'd really. The more I talk to people, I really feel like that's what we're missing. Yeah. Is like people who just love comedy to come do the things that comics don't want to do or don't know how to do. Yeah. You know, it's like you guys don't have time to buy camera equipment and learn how to edit and shoot a special and all this kind of. I mean, you just don't have time. Yes, and I don't know. I feel like I want over the next year or two. I think that'll be the part I hopefully play. Is in addition to just interviews is. I think we can make some really fun comedy specials for people.
Yeah, some
locally.
content. Yeah. And if it has like a unique stamp on it of like a style or something that is like, oh, this is one of those. This is one of those ones that I've been seeing. What is this? You know, and it's like, oh,
I've never thought about it that way of having a style. Like that. Yeah. Well, what do you think the style is around here?
Oh.
Because I wouldn't know what angle to think of it. I mean, my angle that I like is just one. You know, I don't care if anybody has followers or anything. It's just, does this person make me laugh really hard? Yeah. You know, do I like that person? And then the second kind of check off is, you know, do I think they're funny, but do I have to accept that like there's not really a lot of substance there? They're a very funny person. Yeah. There's nothing bad about their act. Yeah. And that's why like I wanted to do this with Lawrence so much is he's just got such a depth to his
his funny is
dude it's on a weird level, right? Because his life experiences are so unique. Yeah. And he's you know, talking about you accepting like being yourself and the looseness and all that. It's like some of the stuff he's willing to talk about on stage other people aren't even willing to admit to like their closest friends.
Yeah, to themselves.
To themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, when he talks about some of the stuff that he went through to get meth, and you're just like,
whoa,
all right. And I was like, it's like even if you hope it goes somewhere, but even if it doesn't, it's like we've got to capture this.
Yes,
this has to be preserved
while it's new and cool and hot.
When he's not phoning it in because he's been doing it for 6 years or whatever, And that's what I think. Like I think about, I won't name any names. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but we all know some really great comics here locally who have been doing it a very long time, and they didn't get any of that captured in their prime.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not that they are not capable of still being that funny.
Yeah.
I think maybe, I could be wrong, but I think maybe some of them get a little jaded that while they were in what they consider to be their prime, that it didn't happen.
Right.
And it's like, man, there's nothing that says it couldn't happen for you right now. Just try to find that spark. And it's like, leave that material. That's fine.
Yeah.
You're like you said about yourself, you're a whole different person now.
Yeah.
And that's how it's like, I want to talk to some of these veterans that are still killers.
Yeah.
And just be like, what's the version of you in this 10 years of your life?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm still listening to the last 10 years of your life.
Yes.
And this 10 years, and this 10 years has got to be super interesting.
Yes.
And it's like, there's no question about your skill.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping maybe we can, like, I would love to capture some of the current people who are in that moment of uniqueness where it's like, we got to get it while it's in this great space of the now or whatever. And then I would love to be able to have enough trust to go talk to some of the veterans and be like, you know what I would like you to do.
Yeah.
And not get punched in the face.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's like,
but
you see those people who have that depth of knowledge of stand-up here locally. They're incredible.
Yes.
And you're just like chomping at the bit to hear something new from them.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I know you got it in there.
Yes.
I know you got it in there. And I don't know any of them well enough to even start that conversation. But
and it's also like, I don't want to say anything to hurt anyone's feelings or anything because I've been there. I've been doing the same 15 for like 4 years, and I was afraid to. What
do you think was the fear for you to get out of that 15? Because that's something I don't understand yet.
Yeah,
there's comics who've been doing the same material for, literally like 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And if it's an audience that hasn't watched them, they get killer laughs. Like they've got that dialed in. But it's like, come on.
But it almost is void of soul.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like you were reciting something you wrote 5 years ago. You don't feel this anymore. You don't believe this anymore.
So what do you think it was about the old you that was kind of clinging to that and not willing to step away?
A fear of failure, a fear of bombing, of losing my place in the hierarchy of the scene that is also fake and doesn't exist. By the way, there is no hierarchy. There is no like, oh, you're at this level and I'm here and you've passed me, and oh, someone who started before me is passing me now. There's just your journey with your thing that you're doing, and playing the comparison game is only going to make you real sad and make you afraid to fail. And you have to like relinquish that fear of failure to make any progress towards something new.
It sounds like your therapy's going well.
It's going great, dude.
Yeah?
Yeah. We're coming up on a year. And
1 year of therapy?
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, so you've done a lot of work in 1 year.
Yeah.
You're going to stay at it for a while, you think?
I think so, yeah. I like him a lot. We're like friends now. And so,
Man, I've never. I would like to I would like to go to therapy, just because I think there's a lot of value in just talking.
Yes.
It's like just having somebody throw your ideas off of, and a lot of it, I imagine, is your own self-revelation of just saying things out loud sometimes.
For sure.
But it's like finding the literal time for me is maybe the hardest part.
Yes. Yeah. And then finding a person that you click with.
How did you decide this therapist was going to be a good one for you?
Man.
Because I am so jaded.
Yeah.
That I think like, my first thought of a lot of things like that is just because, like we went to small town schools.
Right.
And we made the team.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like some of these people, maybe shouldn't be in the profession. And I don't know how to weed out a good therapist and a bad one. I don't know. And it's like, what if you're giving me horrible advice?
Yes. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, for me, a big problem with traditional therapy is that they don't give you advice. They just listen to you and kind of like validate you. Like, it's just like, whatever you're going through is legitimate and good. And I did not want that. I don't need that. I have a really good mom for that. And so I wanted someone who would call me on my bullshit and be like, yeah, maybe you're full of it. Maybe you're being a little bitch right now, Parker. And
how did you figure out this person would do that?
So I read a GQ article about the new Adam McKay movie. At the time, it was new. Don't Look Up. And it was he and I think Jonah Hill interviewing each other. And they both go to Stutz.
Okay.
Yeah. And they were talking about that. And so they talk about the book. I listen to the audio book. I buy the book and read it. And like there's a story in there about a guy who's trying to pass the bar. And he's going to traditional therapy. And he's like, I get this intense test anxiety. I don't know what to do. And the guy says, well, it's really because your dad's a plumber and he secretly is resentful of your success and you're afraid to overcome that and hurt your dad. And he was like, fuck you, dude. I have a great relationship with my dad. This has nothing to do with that. What are you talking about? And the Stutz was like a part of that interaction. He was like either a student or he was the guy and he just didn't know. He was like, what do we do after that? Like, what can I give someone to like overcome these like hurdles? And so he like went out and did a bunch of research about like other like religions and life philosophies and like figured out like these little tools to, like make get over certain things like that. And like one of those is like shadow work. And then another one I used for a long, I had to use like to like mend a lot of like relationships was like this power of love tool or active love. And so like it's super like hippy dippy and like where you like imagine in your heart like expanding to the size of the earth and all the love that's around the earth, and then coming back down, and then you kamehameha it into the person across from you who you want to like argue with and be mean to, and it will change the entire interaction. Whether it just will. And it's good to do that in relationships. It's good to do that with bosses. It's good to do that with, anyone who you're really anxious about this, like impeding confrontation that, and you know that they're going to come try to like press your buttons and rile you up and get you going. And you do that and it really, it changes. It will just change everything. The way they react to you, the way you react to them. It's hard to remember to do it, but so I wanted like actionable work. And so they have a website. I went to their website, said, hey, is there anyone in Texas who does this? And they sent me a list of phone numbers. I called them and no one would do it. Everyone was too booked up. And then like 6 months went by, breakup happened. And I was like, all right, let's get this list back out. And I called his wife who does it. And she was like, found out I did stand up, and she's like, I think you and my husband would be a really good fit because he's a huge comedy fan. Yeah. So and
that's fascinating.
Yes.
I've always wondered, when you learn more about comics, you learn it's the land of misfit toys, right?
Yeah.
And that's part of what led them to telling jokes. Is it's a great outlet for people who have problems, and it's a good way to channel it.
Yes.
And same way with musicians, right? Like a lot of people go into music because they've got issues, and this is a way to work it out. And then, but like in music, for instance, it's like when people get happy and successful.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes it sucks, right?
Yeah.
And so I do wonder about a lot of people where, comics anyway, it's like if they get help in therapy, it's like, are they like, oh, we're good?
Yeah, I don't need,
so it's nice to hear that like
the
funny's still there, even though
Yes.
you're working on it.
Yeah, I don't think I do not believe in this. I have to be a tortured person to be funny. Yeah, I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, it's real easy to fall into because it sounds so cool and mysterious.
Doesn't it? Yeah,
I got
yeah.
problems.
Oh, I'm like
I'm the Anthony Bourdain of comedy.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah, but no, I think most really successful comedians kind of live regular lives. I think like Nate Bargatze is like
he's a great example because he is on paper, he's a very average guy.
Yes, yeah.
Other than his huge blossoming comedy career.
Yes, yeah. He just has a wife and kids and a home in Tennessee, in Nashville, and they,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also like Bert Kreischer has a wife and kids, and
yeah, but I'm going to say he's anything but a normal life. That guy
fair,
he's a weird dude.
yeah. But Tom, Joe,
yeah,
a lot of those guys.
They're as normal as you can be for being millionaires off of comedy.
Right. Yeah. For sure.
That's interesting.
They all have their like little corner of normality that they can go back to and kind of mine from, and you need that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you also need a little bit of you need some recklessness in you for sure.
Well, they have what you said you wanted out of a therapist, which is they have a core group of friends that will constantly call them out.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like you. I've never done well with like a lot of positive reinforcement.
Right.
Those people who are just like, it's okay, you can do it. This happened. Blah blah blah. I do much better, and I don't know if it's healthy, but I do much better with like a David Goggins type, where it's like, don't be a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And and it's like I don't, like to run and I like to cycle.
Yes.
And those are kind of my thing. I think working out that energy helps.
Oh yeah.
And I make a lot of fake enemies when I do that.
Yeah.
So like if we live near White Rock Lake, so like if I go running or cycling out there for exercise, I will find someone who looks like they have like more expensive shoes or a nicer bike.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I make up this story that they're probably like the rich asshole who thinks I don't deserve to be out here.
Yeah.
And I have to like tail them as long as I can.
Yes.
And try to keep, because they're usually better athletes than me, and so it's my way of trying to get better.
Right.
But it's like, man, that negativity, I don't know how healthy it is, but it really motivates me.
Yeah.
And it's like making this whole fake, like I have to prove myself to this person who doesn't know I exist.
Yeah.
I don't know. I respond to that kind of aggressive harshness.
Yes.
Really well.
Yeah.
Like I almost wish somebody would be at the lake to be like, why are you running out here?
Yeah. Why would you even
fucking
do this?
suck at this?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're so slow.
Yeah.
They're like, I'll show you.
Yeah. I'll do a little recording.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you.
I mean, I'll still be really slow. Like my arms will be moving faster, but my body will still be kind of the same speed.
But yeah, I saw that you're like working up to a marathon, which is
this will be
wild.
this will be my fifth marathon.
Whoa, no way.
Have you got to work with Michael Pasvar?
I know
of him?
Know of him, yeah.
He in 2020, well, he was going to try to do the Dallas Marathon with his friend Sonny. I think in 2019, but they canceled, or it would have been 2020, so they canceled because of COVID.
Yeah.
And then he started a thing called the Juicy Jogger Nation, because him and Sonny had like dad bods and they wanted to achieve this thing, and so it was going to be funny, and they did a lot of like Instagram reels and stuff like that while they were doing it to document the journey.
Yes.
And that marathon didn't happen, and so then 2021, I guess, it was going to happen, and I was like, I got to jump on board. I've always wanted to do a marathon.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was like in the worst shape of my life, and I used to be an athlete, so I was I'm fitting right in with the Juicy Jogger thing here. Let's do this. And so we did like 3 months of training and ran the Dallas Marathon.
No way.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, I've kind of gotten hooked on it.
Yeah.
Like I need to, because I realized part of the reason I got in horrible shape is it's like you're telling yourself like, I'm an athlete because this long ago I did this stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And then you realize like, God, I put on weight. I'm not an athlete.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I have a kid. I don't want to die young.
Yes.
And so now I've realized the only way I'm going to work out is if I set stupid goals and then tell everyone I know that I'm doing it.
Yeah,
so that
yeah.
if I don't do it, I get,
yes.
even though they won't ridicule me.
I get public shamed in my mind. Yeah,
and they won't give a shit.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I'm like, they'll all hate me.
Yeah. I'll let everyone down.
They're all looking up to me to do this.
Yeah. I'm inspiring all of my friends and family. Yeah. Oh, I get it.
If I don't do this, they'll crumble.
If I don't get that Netflix special, they'll all give up on themselves. Yeah.
And so I'm trying to add in these fitness things on a year-round schedule.
I love it.
That way. So I did the Dallas Marathon.
Yes.
And then my sister, who is a runner, but has never done a marathon, I think was a little upset that I did a marathon because she's in much better shape than I am.
Yeah, she's like, what?
She's like an actual runner.
Yeah. She's like you. She's like the negative reinforcement.
Yes. Yeah. So she was like, I had a really long, like my first one, it was like 6.5 hours.
Yeah.
And so like a good athlete does it probably somewhere between 3.5 and 5 hours, would like that range of like you're really good or you're pretty good. Anything over like 5 hours, like me, it's like, just good job, buddy. Like,
you did it.
Yeah, you did it. You made it.
Yeah.
And so when she was asking me about it, she's like, "How did you get through it?" I mean, like I was like, you just run, and it's like when it's too much, it's like you just walk for a little bit and then you run again. And she's like, "Oh, so you walked?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Well, that's not really running a marathon, is it?"
Whoa.
And I was like, fuck you. Like,
Can I not have one thing?
So the Fort Worth Marathon, the Dallas one is in December. The Fort Worth one is in February every year.
Okay.
So I immediately signed up for the Fort Worth one.
Yeah.
And the whole training thing was like, fucking, I'm not going to walk this one.
I'm not going to walk it all.
I'm going to run the whole thing. You know, and I ran the whole thing.
Nice.
And then full circle back to marketing. How powerful marketing is on a dummy like me. They made their marathon medals because, it's a participation trophy, right? If you finish, you get a medal.
Yeah.
Fort Worth made theirs where it was a puzzle piece. So that was the first year of 4 years to get the full puzzle.
Wow.
So I was like, I got to do it for 4 years now.
Yeah.
I got it. I have to do this.
Get the puzzle piece.
What am I fucking? I'm gonna have one puzzle piece, like some kind of dick.
Someone's gonna ask me about this someday, and I'm gonna have to say, it was. Yeah, I could. When I get the others, but I didn't want to. Yeah.
When I get my custom-made coffee table to show my son's girlfriend that he brings over the medals I won,
under the bulletproof glass,
exactly. It's gonna be lit from underneath. And she's going to need to see this.
Yes,
No, and so then I decided, like, okay, part of the fitness thing, like to keep going, it's like I'm just going to do the Dallas and Fort Worth Marathon at least for the next 4 years, and I think now. At least the Dallas one, I think I just want to try to do it as long as I can because why not?
Yeah,
and it just be one of my little traditions, but then I realized, okay, I'll do those, and then I have an excuse now to like be a lazy piece of shit for the next 7 months or whatever.
Yeah, you really do. You're like, I ran a marathon. This year.
It's even worse because I'm sitting there eating queso and I'm like, I do marathons.
Yeah, whatever, dude. Yeah.
I'm gonna. I always joke with my wife. I'm like, you're dealing with an elite endurance athlete. You're so lucky.
Yeah.
So this year I did a cycling event. They do one in Wichita Falls called the Hotter Than Hell.
Okay.
And it's a 100-mile bike ride in August.
Oof. Yeah.
So it's totally opposite of the marathon thing.
Yeah.
And so that was my fitness thing of doing that this year.
Right.
And so I did that in August. And so I'm trying to just get like another 1 or 2 events to where it's like year round I have something that will keep me working
out. Like every quarter there's something.
It's got to be something hard that I'll be personally embarrassed about if I don't do it, even though nobody cares if I do it. But and I think, so now I'm probably going to try to do that bike ride every summer.
I love it.
And just, and then I would love to get to a point where we can turn it into reasons for like vacations.
Yeah.
Like if I could ever get fast enough at marathons to qualify for like a Boston marathon. It's like, hey, I'll run the marathon and then we'll spend, 5 days in Boston.
Yeah.
And just have
like
a little
explore.
vacation.
Yeah. Chicago, DC. All of those cool places.
So long term, I'd like to have the fitness thing be also like a family trip thing.
Yes. Yeah.
So even though it's all my ego, like maybe we can all still enjoy it.
But we're also instilling good values for our kids to stay physically fit.
I mean, I hope so. I hope so.
I think so. Yeah.
Dude, it's like I think about, even though I was athletic when I was younger, I didn't know anything about diet.
Right.
I knew the exercise part, but not diet.
Yeah.
And that's been the challenge my whole adult life, is I'm so addicted to shitty food.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I can just get him to eat healthy food from the start, and he
Yes.
never gains weight, and he never has to think about, I need to get back in shape, I can just stay in shape.
Yeah.
But
I was really lucky. My mom,
was she that?
She would not let us eat. Like I wasn't allowed in the kitchen, unless. And if I started to like go do something, she'd be like, "What are you doing? Yeah, I'll fix it. Are you hungry? I'll have some grapes."
Man,
yeah,
your mom, man.
Yeah,
what a great woman,
killing the game. Yeah.
You're gonna have to write some material about your mom.
I know.
She sounds like such a big part of your life.
For sure. Yes. Yeah. And I've been working on that because I want to have I have a big chunk about my dad and a big chunk about my mom, and I think that's an important part.
I haven't heard any of that yet, right? I don't think you've really performed any of that.
I've talked about my dad being a youth minister,
right?
And so
that's all the fun nepotism stuff with heaven, right?
Yeah. And so, but there's still more I could talk about, But
see, those are the themes that I would love for a lot of the local comics to go down.
Yes,
because to me, it's like once you had all that dialed in, that's when it's time to go record that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That would be super fun.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Well,
do they ever
be in touch?
For sure.
Yeah.
Do they ever get how do they like you talking about, your religion and your upbringing on stage? Do they like it, or
they've never voiced we don't like it. I do think to some extent when I was younger they knew if we say we don't like it, he's really going to do it. And so I think overall, that any of my family members who've made the act have acted honored to have made the act. And
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Where are you at on the religious spectrum right now?
We're playing with it.
Yeah.
There was a period of, I never went full atheist, but a period of very agnostic, I was really into like Nietzschean philosophy and
that'll take you down a certain road.
Yeah. And it also is like if you read that in your early 20s, like you better have a good support system.
I was going to say I'm starting to see a little bit of this existential crisis you were having.
Yes.
Yeah. You're reading some heavy stuff.
This Sartre and and I was like. And then I found Kierkegaard, who I like the most.
Okay.
Because he's like, pick something and believe in it, and make it your thing. Yeah.
Those small towns, it's like religion's huge.
Yes.
In the little town I was in, it was a lot of like Southern Baptist churches, that style. And so a very passionate group of people,
Yes.
And it's like, our family just wasn't religious. Like I think we have parents that my parents are, I believe they believe in God and they consider themselves Christians, but they don't really go to church or do anything.
Yeah.
And a lot of our family members, like aunts and uncles, would be members of churches.
Right.
So we might go here and there to like a Sunday school thing or something, not really ever involved in it. But those small towns, it's like they kind of did a number on me because you just see, like once I started listening to a lot of like punk rock music and being a little more rebellious, and you start seeing a lot of the hypocritical nature of not necessarily the religion, but the people and how they interpret that religion.
Yes.
And so when you're young and immature, it's like it turns you away from it so fast.
That's exactly what happened
right?
to me. Yeah.
And then it's like as you get older, it's like one of my biggest hobbies is like astronomy and anything that studies the universe.
Yeah.
I love any of those topics. And then you realize like, wow, it's just the unknowns of everything are so vast that it's pretty arrogant to think it couldn't be possible.
Right, yeah.
And so I think I'm in a similar space of what you're talking about where it's like, I'm not at a point where I could be so bold to be like, it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like, well, you don't know.
Yeah.
Like...
That's just as, the people who are like, oh, religious people think they know everything. It's not real. It's like, well, you're over here saying like you know everything.
Just did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I think I've come to a real happy place where I'm okay being like, probably not, but maybe.
Yes.
And if it is that, like, I don't think that would be the worst thing in the world if one of these religions were true.
Right. Yeah.
It'd be weird.
It'd be
but and then also like I think anybody who thinks that everything that's written in any one of those books is 100% accurate, right? It's like we all know that that's been manipulated.
Yeah.
But there is something interesting about how, like, at the core of every decent religion that has been established for a very long time, there are these very similar values.
Yes.
On the most basic
helping
level.
other people.
Yeah.
And like unconditional love.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly what you were talking about with your therapy about like trying to, and it's like, so, okay, am I going to be this dick who says like, all this is fake? But then I love listening to like a Beatles song or something that's about like, all you need is love or whatever. It's like, come on. It's like, you're being so hypocritical, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. I think I'm at a spot now where I wish we could just dump all of our money, all of our excess money into studying the universe and getting those answers. Because I think whether it's religion or it's not religion, you're going to find that truth.
Right.
And I think we're going to realize, I mean, because if you think about the universe, if you're just like, it's all science, there's no religion, nobody created it. There was a big bang and absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like, hold on. You just skipped over the absolutely nothing turned into something thing really fast.
Yeah.
And it's like, so once we find that out to be true, it's like, don't we need to be using the scientific method to find out like what, quote, nothing is? And then once we figure out what that nothing is it sitting around in another nothing?
Right.
Or like, and it's this endless pursuit, right?
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about religion now too. It's like, okay, is Church of Christ like Jesus and God?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, okay, God created it all, in whatever version of Genesis you're reading, and then, all right, that's fantastic. It's like, hold on. Where do these gods come from? Where does this God? God came from nothing. There was nothing, and then there was God, and it's like, now we're getting into that same question that we have with the universe.
Yes.
So to me, it's like, let's just explore whatever these versions are with some sort of, realistic, factual, like, okay, we're saying this in this book. What's the way we could determine how much of this is true? And like, how do we, because it's like, you could use it to prove that it's real. Yeah. It might take you a really long time. Right. But if it's real, you can prove it. At some point, you're going to have to be able to prove it. Yes. And it's like, I'll go on that journey with you. Let's do it. I'm all about figuring out whatever the truth of it all is right now. Right. And so. And
I, kind of got very disinterested in like figuring out like if it's a history book or not. I'm like, what are the lessons? What are the overall like themes and stuff that I should take away from this? Mm-hmm. And I'm very disinterested in any like fire and brimstone, any like, we need pointing fingers and judging and any of that. That
starts to feel like something someone added later.
Yeah. Or something that you were talking about like co-opting and misinterpreting and legalizing the Bible. It's like, no. From what I understand, Jesus says, love your neighbor. That's what we'll do. Yeah. Because I don't think, or that's what we'll attempt to do.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's the overall theme of a lot of these religions is like, look, man, just do the best you can. Yeah. And when you slip up, just try to be better. Yeah.
Try to be better and, don't beat yourself up about it, Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is that. I think that's what I like a lot about Christianity is that you get that grace. There's a level of like, if you falter, it's okay, you know? Yeah.
Well, I mean, like whether you're religious or not, if you read lessons of, let's say you just believe it's a totally made up character, Jesus, right? Yeah. Doesn't matter if he's real or not. But a lot of those lessons of how he was treating people in this book, it's like, we could all learn a little bit from that. Yes. Whether it's just a fictional character or not, it's like, those were pretty nice things. Yes. You know? Yeah. I mean, we can get behind that, right?
We could, help feed the homeless. And,
exactly. Well, and I think that's when I started thinking about it a little more is like that love of punk rock music had a lot of thoughts about, like capitalism, all this is evil, and more social things should be happening to make sure people aren't left behind and that kind of stuff. And then you start realizing like, that sounds very similar to some of these religious ideas. We just market it as punk rock instead of, and it's like, and then you got to dive into like, why did they push against something so hard? It's probably some childhood thing that they went through. And so now I've just kind of gotten to a point where it's like, I don't really care. I think there's a lot to learn from this. There's a lot to learn from that. Let's just take the best pieces, do the best we can.
I agree with this. Yeah. And then, and maybe the pieces that end up not exhibiting those best pieces, we leave them behind.
Yeah.
But,
well, because especially when you think about Christianity, that's my biggest hang up with Christianity has always been the things along the lines of like getting baptized, for instance. It's like, now you have shown that you have professed your love to Jesus Christ or whatever, right? And it's like, I have a hard time believing this omnipotent being that created everything and it has all this wisdom and power is really like, if you don't say you love me, you're not getting in.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that seems like bullshit. That seems like a very childish. This person who knows of everything seems like they'd be able to even look at someone like Hitler and be like, look, you.
Well, but you did get baptized.
You got a little off track there.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to have to talk about this.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't see them. Like, I would think that person would be so wise that they would even understand how something like Hitler happened. Right now, like, it's all fucked, but like, they would be so wise to be like, we're not saying we like it or we understand, but we see how you got there. And we're gonna give you another run at this, okay?
Or something. I definitely agree that
I don't think hell exists.
I was about to say that. I have a hard time believing in that, and I do think it's really tough for me to ever. I used to believe in it, but then I think I heard two things. I think they were both said on South Park. One was hell was made up to scare people into the religion, and I thought, ooh, it works.
It's effective,
yeah. And then the other one was, it was like a scene where a bunch of religious people were in hell, and they were like, taking roll. Do you know what I'm about to talk about?
Yeah, please go on.
Yeah, they're taking roll like, oh, you hear, it's like, whoa, I was Catholic my whole life. What's going on here? I was like, oh, whoa, I was Baptist my whole life. Someone says, whoa, I was Muslim my whole life. And they're like, Mormonism. That was the correct answer.
It was the Mormons. And they're like, ah!
Yeah. And the phrase correct answer was like what shook me to my core at like 18. I was like, yeah, what is this? Yeah, I'm just lucky that I got born to parents that are Christian, and I got baptized at 9, and I'm just, wow, I really had an easy test, dude. I did, there are people born in Uganda and are never exposed to it, and so I'm supposed to expect that they burn in hell forever because of where they're born. That doesn't feel right.
That's the silliness of all of it, right? And then the how easily it can be the socialite scene, rather than just the like, we all come here to try to be better people, right? Because you see a core group of people in any like a community church or something, there's always a core group that they're there for great reasons and they're trying to be those good people and all that. And then there's the other group where it's a very social setting and blah, blah, blah. And it's like,
and they donate the most money.
Sure. And like, it's probably wrong for me to hate them this much, but like big mega churches just get under my skin so much. And I really shouldn't get angry at like the members, but just, it's like a Joel Osteen type. It makes me so angry. Because it's, like, I think I get mad that people are willing to buy into the con. Yeah. Right? Because he wouldn't exist if they weren't willing to do it. Yeah. And you're just
he's very much conning.
100%.
Yeah, he's not preaching anything but give me, if the more money you give, the more likely or the better your lot in heaven's going to look.
100%. Yeah, and it's like, that is everything that's wrong with religion, no matter which one it is. Yeah. It's not a Christianity thing. It's like, that's a shyster. Yeah. And, I mean, you don't need that suit to say those words. Yeah. You don't need that home. And it's like, what would Jesus have done that? No, he would have been as humble as possible in the way they're portraying him, at least, right? Yes. And, because I remember I had a really religious coworker, and I was talking to him about that, and he's like, the Bible doesn't say you can't make money. And it's like, I know, but you at some point should have an ethical and moral feeling of like, I don't need all this.
Yeah. Also, are we leveraging people's faith to make money? I do believe the Bible says we can't do that. Yeah.
There's probably something in there, right? Yeah. I have clearly not read it, but I imagine there's a few things in there. I remember something about
you can't. Yeah. No.
Remember something about a camel and an eye on a needle or something.
Yeah.
But did you ever see the old Steve Martin movie, Leap of Faith?
No.
You might really like it. It's
yeah.
I think it's like a late 80s, early 90s movie. But he is playing a traveling like evangelist with like he's got a couple tour buses of people, and they throw up a tent in these desperate towns who need like rain or something to grow their crops. And he's the guy who's going to be preaching the word, donate your money, the Lord will hear your prayers and all this. And I don't know if that movie was based on someone doing that or if they found out someone was doing it later. But there was a real version of that was very similar, because he had like plants in the audience who would like, and they would do things like they would listen to your problems as you're waiting for the show to start. Like, we need more cows or something,
Yeah.
And they would just take that back. So he'd be up on stage and he'd be like, right there is like John Smith. He's like, I know you're struggling with that farm, and all you need is a few more cows or whatever, and they're buying into it.
They're like, whoa,
and they did a great job of showing you how much someone could sucker someone. So almost like a magician, right? It's like they can manipulate you, but just to the worst way.
Yeah, in a terrible way. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a great movie. But then, of course, they bring in like, by the end of it, he's starting to realize he's a piece of shit and maybe he shouldn't be doing it. There's a character who's onto him, and she's a pretty woman who he likes, and so on.
Dang. Yeah.
But great movie, man. It's really good.
I'll add it to the list for sure. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
But it's like, imagine what religion would be like if that type of character didn't exist.
Right. Yeah. Because I take a little bit of like offense to like my friends that are like more like left leaning in that, like, they say they're just so against religion as a concept, and they're like only see the negatives. I'm like, how many people did you feed this year? Yeah, because they fed way more. And it's like there is that to be said, that there is some like inherent good happening within all of this minutia.
It's not all horrible.
And
One of my recent experiences that is exactly that.
Yes.
And like I had to reevaluate my own thoughts on it, because a coworker of mine is very religious.
Yes.
And they feel like, they have a calling to spread the word.
Right.
Okay? And they're a nice, great person. And they are in a program. They were so excited they were accepted into some program that goes to prisons,
right,
to talk to prisoners.
Yes.
And just to be clear, like, this person doesn't outwardly talk about religion. They had like taken some time off to go do this, and I was like, "Hey, how's your time off? You go on vacation or something?" You know? And they're like, "Oh, I did this church thing," and I was the one asking them, like, "What did you do?" Blah, blah. And they are very aware of like, I don't want to talk about this at work because people may not be into
HR
it.
and
And so they go there. They work with these prisoners for like, man, I want to say it was maybe like a week. They're there every day. And they're not doing, he said the main purpose there is to show them that they are still capable of like receiving love and that people care about them. Now, the underlying theme is like, please be a Christian.
Yes.
Right?
Of course, yeah.
But, and so like my instant jaded thing is like, of course, you're trying to recruit people and it's all about just getting more members and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, yeah, but at the same time, I, as a non-Christian, am not going to prisons to try to tell people that they are still valuable and that when they get out, they could still contribute something to society and that we could still welcome them.
Yes.
And they could change their life.
Yeah.
And it's like, so who am I to talk a bunch of shit about this person who's trying to be nice to people that no one wants to be nice to?
Yeah. Yes.
And
100%.
So it was a big reevaluation of like, you're looking at yourself, you're like, why are you being a piece of shit about this guy doing, like, he took a week off of work.
To go work. He
didn't have to do this.
If I'm taking a week off work, I'm going to the beach or something, dude.
And he's telling me stuff like, some of them just need hugs, man.
Yeah.
You just give them a hug. And I'm like, I don't hug random people.
Yes, yeah. It's because, there is that that level of love in the
Yeah.
in the thing, and if you can get past all of the like people flaws, I guess there is some real good going on, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because it's like, let's say that person becomes a Christian and that was the goal of the trip, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, fine, whatever. That's a little, you're manipulating a little bit. But if they did change their life and become a better person, and that was a kickoff to it,
Yeah.
does it really matter?
Yeah.
Does it really matter?
What the net positive,
Yeah,
is what
it's
we're
like,
looking at. Yeah.
They go and hang out with a group of people that I disagree with about some things.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. Yeah.
And because you hear people like comics, for instance. It's like, I think isn't Jim Gaffigan kind of not outspoken, but he's like a family man, and I believe he's religious.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, it's not his whole thing,
Yeah, I don't think it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
To be like to be a part of you, Yeah.
I think just the loudest people are either all in or all out.
Yep.
And they feel like, I have to prove you wrong.
Yeah.
My team needs to win this.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's also, maybe you've lost the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was following this person on Instagram for a while who was a very outspoken atheist, and every single post was about the flaw in Christianity.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not religious. I'm not here to defend Christianity, but it's like, but this also seems stupid.
But also what I'd
doing.
like to do is prove you wrong.
Yeah, it's like, why? Like, the amount of energy you're spending on this.
Yeah.
It's like,
I never understood the evangelical atheist. At least Christians think that they're saving my soul, my eternal soul. You are just a dick.
Yeah. Well, and that's the like, maybe that's the getting older and like hopefully maturing part. It's like, look, the people at like Westboro Baptist Church, I mean, they're fucked.
Yeah.
But in their weird, warped heart, they really do feel like they're
believe
trying to help you.
Yep. Yeah.
Now it's like they're fucked. I mean, it's the wrong way.
Doing it wrong, yeah.
But like, it's weird to think that as much as them and other people disagree, it's like you're all trying to help each other.
Yeah.
You're just disagreeing a little bit about how that goes.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's like they, in their minds, are trying to be such good people.
Yeah. In their minds, they are doing the work. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's such a hard thing to like wrap your mind around.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't do what you were talking about where someone annoys you or someone's really terrible and you have to like put it all aside and just try to be friendly, like that goal you were saying.
Yeah.
And it's like, but imagine how much progress could be made with those people.
Yeah.
If you could do that.
Yes. Yeah. I'm not good at it either.
No.
I'm trying to be better at it. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, imagine how much less fuel they'd have if people were just like, what are y'all doing? They're like, we're protesting soldiers because they're making gay people somehow, and or God killed them because we're making gay people, and you were just like, well, that's an interesting viewpoint.
Yeah.
I don't know. We have orange slices over here.
Yeah.
Are you guys okay? It's
Yeah.
hot. Like if you genuinely could just be nice to them, they'd probably be like, huh.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
And you would reevaluate what you're so upset about. But
yeah.
I don't know.
Hopefully. Yeah.
You think, but then they might just still be dicks. I don't know.
Yeah, they might. Yeah, spit your orange slices back at you.
Yeah. Do you get many hecklers yet?
Not really.
Yeah.
I sometimes get what feels like a level of sexual harassment from
Really?
like older women.
Oh.
Where they'll like kind of just like, oh hey Parker, like on the way on stage, and I'm like, let's not do that right away. Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask, how do you approach hecklers with, like, do you try to do what we were saying, where you try to smooth it out with kindness, or do you try to shut them down, or
man, yeah.
How do you feel about that?
As an MC, they say don't engage, right?
Okay.
There's a little bit of a rule that like that's the headliner's role to break that fourth wall. Your role is not to do that. But I also think if someone is talking to you, you can't ignore it, because then it changes the whole, you're doing the headliner a disservice then, because it's going to change the energy. They're going to be like, what is happening? This isn't it is an interactive show. Whether it's not a dialogue, but it's an interactive show where I'm saying something, you're reacting, and I'm saying things in turn of that reaction, and so I don't get, like, people have never been like, said like, I disagree with this, or like, or you're wrong, or or I get like I do a joke about getting choked, and I've had someone yell out, "I'll choke you," or like and I'm like, whoa. I just kind of react honestly to it. Or if they're really going at it and I'm emceeing, I'll just say like, this is a great time to remind everyone to keep table talk down to a minimum.
Okay.
Or do that thing. Or but yeah, I just don't get hecklers that often.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good. I hope you don't get more now that we said that.
Yeah, I don't think I will. Yeah, I think I bulldoze over people over my own jokes and over the laughs to some degree, and
it is surprising how much you keep the train moving.
Yeah,
because like I mean, just like our conversation.
Yes,
it's like it doesn't seem like you'd be the person who could so easily talk over people.
Yeah,
but you can. Like you can just boom, we keep going.
Yeah.
Oh man, if that magician in 6th grade could see you now.
I know it. Yeah. He'd be impressed. Yeah. He'd be like, my God.
He'd be like, we got laid?
Yeah. Whoa, dude.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, dude,
nice.
Let's wrap it up there. I'm so glad you're back in comedy though, man.
Dude, thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
was an absolute delight.
Oh,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, dude. It sounds like you found a new stride coming back into it with a different mindset. And especially now that I know that, man, I'm very excited to watch future sets.
Yes,
so
thank you. Yeah.
Where are you now part of social media? You said you weren't.
Yes,
are you going to be doing this?
Active again.
Okay.
Yes.
Where do you want people to follow you if they want to watch a show?
I'm really just posting most things on Instagram.
Okay.
So Parker Slave and SLAYYYVENS.
And are you back in a rotation anywhere yet, like at Hyenas?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm emceeing at both Hyenas. I'll be at Hyenas Fort Worth November 2nd and 3rd with Josh Blue, and then Hyenas Dallas November 4th.
Oh, awesome.
With Josh Blue, and then back at Hyenas Fort Worth the weekend of December 14th with Greg Fitzsimmons. So
that'll be a great show.
Yeah.
Have you got to work with him before?
Yes. Yeah.
That's gonna be awesome.
Back in 2018, 2019. Yeah.
He's another one like Tom Rhodes, man. They're just on that level.
Yes.
Like, I may come out to that show then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I would love to see you again, but I've never watched Fitzsimmons live in a club.
December 15th is my 30th birthday, so it's going to be a good time.
That's going to be that same weekend?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to get some tickets to that one.
Awesome.
That's going to be fun. Yeah,
nice.
Well, anyway, thanks again, man, and reach out anytime you want to come back on.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
The I'm a Fan of podcast, music, comedy, and more.